Welcome to the 68th episode of the Nerdom and Other Nonsense anime podcast. Today we are covering the 6th week of the fall 2018 anime season. We're halfway, bitches! And at the end of the episode, we'll be making any mid-season cuts we decide on. As always, we include timestamps in the description of the YouTube video and the podcast feed if you only want to hear about one or two specific shows because you're a fucking basic bitch, since we spoil literally everything. My name is Kat, and I decided to be a good girl for once. Don't get used to it. And put some of my notes into the Google Doc early instead of waiting 5 minutes before we record. You fucking ratted me out, Bcom! Jesus!
I didn't do this!
Oh, it's Leo!
On me!
You asshole! Also
Leo's
with
the
me
rat.
are these two fuckers, Leo and Bcom. Here you go.
Why did you blame Bcom right away?
I don't know.
I don't know. She assumed... Well, that's true. She assumes that I'm the rat.
Oh, okay. You are the one who always tells her to put it in there, and she never does.
Yes. Well, I
probably
gave
why.
up. I gave up like
See,
a couple
Leo,
weeks
I
ago.
thought you were a lot of things in this life, but I didn't think you were a snitch. Now I know.
You're gonna get stitches, Leo.
Bcom is like the teacher's pet type, so like I expected that from him. It's understandable.
Wow.
But
Kat,
Leo,
I'll have you know, listeners, that Kat works very hard. Just not on this podcast. No, I'm just joking. She works very hard on this podcast, too.
shot through the heart, and you're
But that's okay.
Anyway,
All right. We have a review.
yeah.
Our friend Bowling JD from the Red Leaf Retrocast noticed that we were on Stitcher, and he was like, I'm going to leave them a review here, too. Which means Kat has to bring out of the closet and dust off her old sexy voice to read this.
It's been so long, listeners, since we had this sort of meeting. All right. This podcast is great for those looking for weekly episodic reactions and breakdowns of seasonal anime. The banter among each of the hosts and their personalities brings a unique perspective to each and every episode. Anime fans should give this podcast a good try. Yeah. Thank you, Bowling JD.
Good job. Thank you, Bowling JD. That was awesome. And yeah, if you want to leave us a review, head over to, I think iTunes is the best place just because that's where like the most podcast traffic is. But yeah, you can leave one on Stitcher or probably Spotify as well, though I've never tried doing that. I'm not sure how it works. I'm sure there's a way, though. So, anywho, let's move on. Let's get into some nonsense. I got up to some nonsense this week.
Yeah, it's actually literally nonsense, kind of.
Yeah, don't ask me why this happened. I think it happened because I was hanging out with people over the weekend, and Naruto came up a lot at this anime convention I was at, Anime NYC, with the group of people I was with. And then as soon as I got home, I saw more people talking about Naruto on Discord, and I was like, you know, I've never watched more than 4 episodes of Naruto.
Which is a disgrace.
It's a disgrace.
Go ahead.
What if I sat down and watched some more Naruto? So I did. I watched episodes 5 to 10 of Naruto. And I know many of you out there have watched like hundreds of episodes of Naruto. Like I think people on this podcast have, besides me.
Kat and I have seen. Kat's seen all of it. I've almost finished Shippuden. Well, I'm not 200 episodes short, but that means I saw 300 some episodes or something. I don't know.
I have seen every scrap of animation concerning Naruto or Boruto that has ever been
Including
created.
many doujins.
Including that. Yes, I won't lie to you. Anyway, go on, Mika.
So all I'll say so far is that I'm really enjoying it. I really like the direction of the anime a lot. And I like the main 3 characters so far, like Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura. I will say Sasuke is by far the best. There's no way he'll ever become annoying, clearly. I don't know why people complain about him constantly all over the internet. He's fine. So yeah,
says the guy who has not seen enough episodes.
I can't possibly see what would change. No, we'll see. I really enjoyed that. The other nonsense I got up to was there was a Sentai Filmworks sale on anime. So I broke down today and bought a bunch of Blu-rays and DVDs, which was really good. I recommend heading over there. There's actually a lot of really good deals on stuff from the past few years. There's also like pre-orders of stuff like the Girls' Last Tour Blu-ray, which I considered, but it's still like a little too expensive for me. But it looks, especially the limited edition, looks super nice. I really want to get that at some point, but probably not this year. But I did end up getting like Mawaro Penguin Drum, and Tanaka-kun is always listless, which is, by the way, a 10 out of 10 anime. And Azumanga Daioh and Humanity Has Declined. So yeah.
Okay. Very cool.
I'm not
How
doing
about
much.
you guys?
I'm just looking through my 4-day weekend. You guys know I don't really get many weekends off. And I'll probably end up buying Red Dead Redemption 2 to bide my free time this weekend.
Nice.
I'll also probably play a little bit of Destiny, but mostly probably Red Dead because I'll get addicted to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Thanksgiving is tomorrow. Are you guys excited for that?
If you're talking about the food, yes.
Hell yeah. What else would I be talking about? Football? Who cares?
I thought you were going to say family. Now I'm going to laugh at you.
cares? No.
Yeah, I think we all know sometimes family getting together can be stressful. But what is everyone's favorite Thanksgiving food?
My absolute favorite thing on Thanksgiving is mashed potatoes with absolutely no gravy whatsoever.
What?
But mixed with peas. Like you just mix them into. Oh, it's so good.
Oh, that's
It's so
disgusting!
good.
The fuck is wrong with you?
Fuck
Hell!
gravy. Fuck gravy.
That is
Gravy
mashed
is
potatoes
an
with
unnecessary.
crazy.
Huge
You
craving
deserve
of gravy in
to
the middle
be
is
in
how
a
it goes.
psych ward, Bcom. You put peas
put some
in your
gravy
mashed
on the turkey.
potatoes. You put peas in your mashed potato. That's disgusting.
Hell yes.
That's
It's
disgusting.
So good. Oh my god.
We
I
need to
recommend you
admit
try
him,
it,
Leo.
listener.
We need to drive to his house and admit him. He needs
I don't
help.
trust him anymore after this.
And then also pumpkin pie, because pumpkin pie is legit.
Pumpkin pie is
I mean, that's
awesome.
good,
With a
yeah.
little Cool Whip.
All right,
Cool Whip. Oh God, no.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
you know
Put a
what we
little Cool Whip
call
on
you know
top.
what we call Cool Whip in my house. We call it calf slobber.
Cool Whip.
Call it what?
Calf slobber.
Cool.
Cat slobber.
No, calf slobber, because it looks like when you
Cow
open like the tin, it looks exactly like when a cow is like foaming a lot.
Oh, gotcha. Wow, that's interesting.
Okay.
Cat is not a hick, people. We promise.
Maybe a little bit.
Say
but-
baby.
No, I'm not gonna do it.
What are your guys' favorite foods for Thanksgiving?
Well, mashed potatoes with gravy. But you went mashed potatoes, so I don't know. I'm just a big macaroni and cheese fan, so that's always good.
Nice.
It's always interesting because some people do the mac and cheese thing for Thanksgiving, and some people don't. So,
Yeah.
my favorite is stuffing. I adore stuffing. It's so good.
I
don't
like
really
it.
care
It
for it.
depends. It really depends on the type of stuffing, because sometimes it's just like way too dry. It has to be made well, basically.
See, in my family, we make the bread from scratch and then let it get stale for a few days and then make the stuffing out of that. And it is fucking amazing. So
That sounds really good. That's a lot of effort for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. So
Cool. All right. Well, I wish all of our listeners a happy Thanksgiving. Say hi to your families. Pull yourself away from anime for 5 minutes. Go hug somebody.
go hug
Good thing to
somebody.
do every once in a while.
Hug
Or
your
get
cat or
drunk
something.
so that you can deal
Yeah.
with your family. If you have to, you have to. I
Yeah.
understand.
Exactly.
We've all been there. So
Well, I have to deal
Double-decker
with
taco.
double-decker Doug and Kirill. Yeah,
Yes.
double-decker tacos. All right. So we've got episode 6 of Double Decker, which is called Up Close and Personal, 24 Hours with the Liz Valletta Police. So this episode kicks off with Doug and Kirill staking out a houseboat that they were tipped off on by information they got from, the last episode where they captured like the Esperanza dude like long enough to get the information out of him that like the leaders P and T were in this like hideout. And so they're now at this houseboat trying to track down this like Anthem pack mule. However, they're quickly called away to a casino, or they're supposed to go to this casino called Victoria. About there's this guy who's just like sitting outside this casino. He's screaming like drunkenly about like the Esmeralda crime syndicate and how he's like part of it or something, or he knows people in it. And it's probably a distraction, Travis even says when he calls them, but he's there. He's like, you have to go anyway. We have to figure out what the hell this is. The casino is in the middle of this ritzy city called Luminox Port, and it's under the jurisdiction of the Liz Valletta police. And then, like, the whole next section of the show is just presented as part of this, like, TV broadcast, kind of like Cops style.
Kind of?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly like Cop style.
Yeah.
Called Liz Valletta 24. And so it follows, like, Doug and Kirill and, like, blurs their faces and, like, makes their voices into chipmunks as they go through the scene to, like, protect their identity. And they calm this screaming dude down. They like put him in the back of their police cruiser and like start talking to him. And then they test him for drugs and they interview him. And basically this guy claims he comes from a world above their world where everyone looks down on humans and uses them as guinea pigs. And he just says like a lot of crazy shit like that. But eventually they figure out he's not actually on any drugs. He's probably just really drunk and just doesn't want to go home to his wife. And they just end up taking him back. So of course they got to be on TV. So Kirill is like over the moon.
Back to that last scene. There's a couple little funny things if you're paying attention, because then like later on he's like, where we look down on people, and it's like he turns out he's like, oh no, that's just the second floor. There's like little snippets throughout the whole thing like that, but yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of funny.
Well, there's like a part in the middle where you kind of think like, wait, does this guy like actually have like a point? Does he actually have information? And then you're like, oh no, he's just fucking crazy.
Yeah, I was thinking of like Altered Carbon, where they have like cities in the sky with like rich people who like rule over everybody else, basically.
Yeah.
I was like, is that what's going to happen here? And no, that doesn't happen at all. So, of course, yeah, like the old woman like recorded the broadcast for Kirill, and he watches it back and he gets like super excited. But he also sees someone who looks like his sister, his long lost sister Mila, walking in the background of the footage. And so he goes and he tells Doug about this at work, who this is where the misunderstandings between them begin, because Doug also saw something in some surveillance footage that he watched regarding the pack mule guy. And so Kirill thinks like Doug is like, oh, you saw it too. And so Kirill thinks he's talking about his sister, and it all gets like stupid misunderstood for like a while until they finally figure it out. And when they end up at like the pack mule guy's apartment, and Kirill's like, that's not my sister, what the hell's going on? So they go to Apple Bieber, and Kirill tells Doug like what he saw about his sister. And Apple Bieber like apparently is trying to develop like a new surveillance system like citywide, so he can like go back through the footage and he finds Kirill's sister, and he's able to like track her given like a little bit of time. And Kirill explains like, I haven't seen my sister in 10 years. We shared a grandfather who was this like silent, difficult man, he says. But Mila just disappeared one day, and I want to know why she disappeared. And so Apple finds her like she had been like disappeared into a public restroom, and he couldn't track her after that. But it looked like she was maybe a criminal or something, because she was trying to avoid cameras. And so afterwards, everybody heads to Derek's bar to like blow off steam, and for like Kirill to explain to everybody like why he's been acting weird and why he's looking for his sister. And then randomly and conveniently, fucking Mila just shows up at Derek's bar as his new employee. It was just like, okay, this is where the episode really started to go downhill for me. Like at first, like, so Kirill like sees his sister and then like barely reacts. Like it didn't seem in line with his character. I thought he would start going nuts and like asking her like a billion questions.
Doesn't he like go in shock?
I guess so. I guess that's what it's supposed to be. Like he's just like overwhelmed by seeing her and is probably like afraid to ask her some of the questions he's been thinking about for a long time.
Yeah.
But Kirill basically just tells her that like he hopes she can explain everything to him one day, and And like Kay starts crying, which is kind of funny actually. She's like so moved by all this.
Yeah, it was a little weird. I was just like, okay.
The other thing about Mila is that it's very clear, like, she has, like, a fairly manly voice, like, even before the after credit scene, which we're going to go into.
Oh, it's clear from, like, moment one that she is a boy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
like...
Yeah. So, but, like, then after the credits, the show basically decides to joke about that fact in what I consider to be an extremely tasteless way. So Apple comes charging into their bar, yelling that, I found out something really bad, guys, really bad. And so Mila, like, apparently went into the men's restroom on the surveillance tapes that he had been, like, going over. And so it's like, oh, I guess Mila's a guy. Meanwhile, Kirill is in the bathroom at this bar. And he's like at a urinal, and then he looks to his left and he sees Mila at the urinal and has like a moment of recognition that his sister is a guy. And it's just like, yeah, it's just stupid. And then, like, so Mila turns to him and is like, actually, my name is Valerie Vrubel, not Mila Vrubel. And he's been meaning to tell Kirill that he's been a man for a really long time. And then, like, Kirill, like, zips up his fly, like, in horror, like, oh no, it's a guy. And, like, so I wouldn't, like, honestly, it's not that bad. Like, I wouldn't be that upset about it if it wasn't for, like, the current climate in the United States where, like, there's, like, people literally trying to make laws to keep trans people out of bathrooms of, like, a different gender. That's like literally affecting people every day in real life. And it's just like, when you make shitty jokes like this, it's just like, what is the point? You're not doing anyone any good. And I was like, man, I didn't see this show going like with a down a path like this.
Oh man, and it is original, so this has been created very recently.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, that's true too. And, like, I think a lot of the, like, Yuri, the robot girl, and Max, the girl with, like, the side shaved head, like, they've, in the credits, like, are shown, like, basically kissing each other. Like, in a lot of ways, like, this anime seemed, like, pretty, like, LGBT friendly until this point. And then to have this just come up was like, why are we doing this? But I think my other problem with the show is it's just sort of been becoming formulaic over the past few episodes. I liked the episode with the guy in the jail cell. Like, that was interesting. But then we do this episode where it's completely different. It's about Kirill's sister, who is really his brother. And that's weird. And it's just like, why are we diverting from, like, the main plot to do this? And then the other thing is that from the beginning of the show, I was excited about the female characters, like Max and Yuri and them, and they've barely gotten to do anything, you know?
It's sad.
So, yeah, I'm kind of down on the show right now, unfortunately. Yeah.
Okay. I will say Deanna was, like, doing her thing where she's, like, just calling it how it is. I think it happened early in the episode, and I really like her because of that, because that's pretty awesome. But
Deanna is pretty cool. I like her as a character as well. Yeah.
Yeah, but like you said, we don't know shit, really, anything about Yuri or Maxine, so darn, or Sophia, however you want to say it.
I just like Sophie's voice. Whenever she comes over the radio, she's got that, like, weird lisp, and she's very recognizable. But yeah, I don't know. I was really turned off by the end of this episode. Any thoughts, Kat, on this?
Yeah, no, I haven't been, like, in love with this show from the beginning. It's just not. I don't know. It's just not the best. Like, I was shocked when you picked it for your pick. I was like, really?
It was his number one.
Yeah.
It was mostly based on the cast and what I envisioned them getting up to, and what the show has become over the first 6 episodes is not what I envisioned, basically.
Okay.
So,
but yeah, I mean, it's not like terrible. I've watched much worse anime. No. It's just the standard fare.
Pretty much, yeah. All right. Let's move on.
Okay. The Girl in Twilight, episode 6, Alone on an Island. Man, not much happens this episode.
It really, I mean, you get some hints of, like, what the plot of this arc is going to be, but not a lot. You're right. It's mostly a beach episode.
Yeah, not until the very end. Yeah, so like 4 minutes in, and this is no doubt the beach fan service episode.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
You
very
figured that out in the first minute. By the 4 minute mark, you're damn sure what this is about.
Yes.
So Asuka like gets everybody together because she wants to go to the beach, and they were supposed to go over the summer, but I guess she got a cold or something. And really, actually, nobody really wants to go. But then, like, Sexy You shows up and says she knows just the place they can go, and she also says they don't have to wait till like 4:44 anymore to transport. I guess they can use their Walkmans to do it now, but they still have to go to the tree and perform the ritual. And then sexy poses by Asuka in her swimsuit.
With sexy poses accompanied by boob bounces.
Oh boy!
Yeah.
Let's not forget the boob bounces.
Very important.
Not everybody can be Harakana Receive, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody can. You're right.
Okay. Then we find out like the sacred tree in this world's like underwater, and the girls all got wet, and they don't have swimsuits. But Sexy You in her skimpy swimsuit has them covered. Who orders some that is being delivered by a drone for them?
Amazon drone delivery. Woo.
Yeah, same here. I was just like, oh boy. We then, of course, get a little bit of fan service. We get to see them all like playing in their swimsuits before it cuts to Chloe, who was Link this time. It was interesting. I would have thought Sexy You would have ordered way skimpier swimsuits than what they got. Like they got some very like a lot of coverage on those swimsuits. That's surprising.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, in this world, everybody has their own little island, and it's no different for Chloe, who wakes up in her hut. And like, I'm all on board with Chloe here. This is awesome. Also, in this world, there are communities that have an AI that helps run them. The community's AI is called White Goat, and through your phone, you can order anything you want, and it'll be delivered to you by drone, food, clothes, whatever. Which sounds awesome if you're living on your own little island by yourself.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, so then Chloe like finds a book on programming and like a VR headset in her hut, and she also finds like a notebook under the headset with like these really cryptic messages and symbols written in it. She's like, what the hell is this? And then like the girls, like they had like a barbecue on the beach and all that stuff, and it's so pointless. Then meanwhile, Twilight Asuka shows up and like pulls Sexy You aside and asks her what she's up to. She of course says nothing, and Twilight Asuka says she doesn't do anything that isn't for her own selfishness. Sexy You then accuses her of being the selfish one, and then they both like transform and they start fighting until Asuka shows up and then do their transformations. The situation diffuses like really quickly.
Yeah.
And then both Asukas go back to the beach with the others. And they're all just like really kind of creepily obsessed with their phones. Like Nana is obsessed with like taking pictures of herself for that world's Twitter or Instagram. Mm-hmm. You won't stop ordering clothes on that world's used dime, which is kind of funny. And Mia is just like super addicted to the games on her phone.
Yeah, like mobile games. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is cool. We get to learn a little bit about Chloe. So Chloe's thing is that she doesn't mind being alone and rather enjoys it. Some people just can't be alone. It drives them crazy. She tries out the VR headset and first tries like some boy app thing and gets flustered with it real quick. It's that one guy, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, it's the guy from Nana's arc. Yeah, it's the same idol boy.
She's like, man, I hope this world's Chloe isn't into him. That was kind of funny. And then also outside her window, there's a drone out there that's just watching her with their cameras. So that's kind of creepy. But then she next chooses a game that allows her to like walk through the streets of Paris. And she remembers how when she lived there, she didn't mind walking the streets alone. But when she moved to Japan, everybody told her being alone is like not a good thing. So even though she enjoys hanging out with the other girls, she's kind of afraid that she could get too used to it, and then she wouldn't enjoy being alone anymore because she really likes just, being alone, reading a book, listening to some music. At one point, she pauses this simulation, and she sees the symbols on the screen that were in the notebook, and then she like starts looking into them real quick, and then what she finds out is that these symbols are it's in everything. It's in all the games, all the apps, everything on the phones. Mm-hmm. That's when she rechecks the notebook and sees that it has something to do with subliminal messaging and brainwashing, which explains like this scene with Nana, Mia, and you just completely just like they're like almost salivating, obsessing over their phones. It's just like, whoa.
Yeah, it does make sense. Sure. Like why they're like that with,
Yeah, but you don't know where this episode's going until like literally the last 5 minutes.
I thought the part where
or like maybe 2/3. Yeah,
I thought the like weird flash that we get where she's like, "Oh, send this mail to them." Like the other girls, like they need to know, like remembering what she did, like her real self in this world. Sending them mail like, hey, there's something wrong with the computers, and the computer system saying like, oh, I delivered it, but like she knows that they didn't get it. It was interesting. I was like, we're getting the plot thickens.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Like I'm kind of agreeing with Leo that like my main criticism of this episode is it just took really long time to get where it was going. But like once it finally got there, I'm kind of interested to see what next week is like. But like, yeah, it's clear like this episode and this parallel world are all about like the danger of like replacing interpersonal connections with people with like artificial constructs like consumerism, like with used clothes buying or like gaming or like digital worlds like Mia's mobile game or social media gratification like Nana's Instagram or whatever.
Well, what's also interesting is that this world's not supposed to have any clutters. So what's this AI computer up to, or is there actually an individual behind it? You know?
That's a good question. It depends how many people exist in this world. Like if it's just these girls, then it could be an individual. If it's or just like an AI programmed by an individual or something. But I don't know.
Well, they said there's communities and they're all controlled by AI. So there's just all these islands spread out all over this planet.
So weird. Yeah. What a weird world. Like it's very much set up to, like you said with Chloe, expose that like Japan is a more collectivist society versus like the individualistic Europe and France that she comes from. And so it's for her to like basically bump up against her philosophy about being alone and what does that mean. And like I liked how it was more interesting. It was more of like a thing for her, like where she had to really think about like a balance of like being alone versus, you know, like being with people and finding some way to exist somewhere in the middle of that. Because she's like worried about being with people so long that she gets scared of being alone, which she doesn't want to happen because she loves being alone.
Also,
sometimes
it was surprising to me that Sexy Yu's transformation was like so not sexy at all. There was only like one spot of skin shown. What's that spot in between like the thigh highs and the skirt called again? I forget.
Oh, it's the something area.
The absolute territory.
Yeah,
or something.
Yeah. That's the only thing. That's the only skin that shows on her costume. And I was like, that didn't see that coming.
That is interesting. I thought it was interesting. There was like the quote that you says like just like the person who stole Asuka from me, and I'm like, what? So like, what do we think happened with that?
I'm so curious about erotic you or sexy you because like I want to know what the hell's going on with her. Like she's been getting so much characterization. I think she's basically like another Twilight Asuka where she's like out working for herself, like for her own specific reasons, based on something that happened in her own world. And I guess like Asuka getting stolen away from her is part of that. Like I assume she was in love with Asuka in her world, and then something happened. So, well, judging how she looks at the Asukas in the other world.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess we'll find out. Like for a little while there, I was like, I wonder if she's going to be the king of Twilight, and it's just like in our faces. But I don't think she is. I think she's just on the level of Twilight Asuka.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, yeah.
Are you guys ready for a story?
Yes.
So that's what Golden Kamuy episode 18 basically is. What was it? Annie Neko? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
There's no cats in this episode.
Well, it's with 2 Ks. Well, Ani is like the name of the town that Tanigaki's from.
Yeah.
I don't know what Neko meant necessarily, but yeah.
Yeah, that was a little weird.
Okay. So we quickly find out that Sugimoto's group survived the night, and it seems that the soldiers trailing them turned back because of the weather. That's literally the opening scene, just like 13 seconds.
Yeah, and then the rest of it is just a giant flashback. So
yeah, which is that honestly, I usually almost always hate flashbacks. I did like this one.
Yeah, it was a
really
good one.
Flashback.
Yeah.
To me, flashbacks always feel like the show is like stalling for more material, or just or it just doesn't work. But I think, oh god, this totally works. So Tanigaki gets a letter from the Serpa's uncle that says her grandmother's making a burial shroud for herself because that's what Ainu do when they think their death is close. Tanigaki then vows to get a Serpa back because there is apparently a traitor close to her, which we already kind of knew, and also to get her back to her grandmother to cheer her grandmother up. Oh boy. You guys ready?
I'm ready.
So Tanigaki has a memory that's like a few months back of talking to Tsurumi about a type of food his people carried on them when they hunted called kane mochi, which is kind of like mochi, but a little bit different.
I don't know how you would put miso in mochi. That just seems contradictory to me, just because mochi to me is something sweet you eat with ice cream. But then again, I'm like a U.S. idiot. So
right. Okay. So the way they hunted was in teams of 3. One man was the rifleman, and the other two's jobs was to make noise and drive the animals towards the rifleman. That was his job, and him and the Kenkichi is the other guy. They get stuck at the peak of the mountain for several days in a cave because of a blizzard. So of course they start running low on food, and they finally get down. The only thing they have left is their kane mochi. And they save it for last because I guess it's very resilient to spoiling. Even if it gets hot or cold, it still takes forever for it to spoil. But Tanigaki forgot that he mixes walnuts into his kane mochi. And apparently it's like very forbidden to alter the kane mochi in any way. And he's got like a super strict father. So the other guy tries it because they share it and he notices, but he promises Tanigaki he won't say anything to his very strict father. They do get out of the cave because like the storm lets up the next day, and Kenkichi ends up marrying his younger sister.
Tanigaki's younger sister.
Tanigaki's younger sister, yeah. And the two like lived together, but they kind of lived slightly outside the village, a little bit in the mountains in a nice little thing. But then like the one day, Kenkichi comes back and he's like got this crazy worried look on his face that the hut they're living in is on fire. So of course, Tanigaki, he rushes to the hut, but finds it completely burned down along with his sister's burnt body. But he does, yeah. But he does notice a stab wound in her heart and the other guy's knife among the debris. So like he goes back to the village and he's trying to find him and he can't find the guy. He just completely disappears on them. But then later on, Tanigaki hears a rumor that he joined the 7th Division or the army or something like that. And instead he leaves his tribe to try to find him and get revenge. He ends up joining the army and later learns that his mother passed away because of his sister's death and him leaving their tribe. She couldn't take it. He then vows to find Kenkichi in the middle of a battle and kill him. So, you know, it looks like an accident. He can't really be blamed for it. After one battle, he actually runs into Sugimoto, who asks him if he has any food. And Tanigaki is surprised when Sugimoto knows what kane mochi is. It's because he knew a guy in like one of the other divisions that had the same kind of stuff. And he's like, oh shit, I fucking found him. He's here somewhere. But the battles were like so intense that he didn't have time to look for him during the battles. And then like one day the Russians started strapping grenades to themselves and jumping into the trenches and blowing guys up. They were like, it was like one Russian for like 10 of the Japanese people.
Yeah, that was brutal.
Yeah. Jesus. And then like one day one is coming right for Tanigaki, and even though they hit the guy with like 3 bullets, he isn't slowing down. And that's when a man in their trench jumps out and tackles the guy, saving everybody in it. It turns out to be Kenkichi. But he is so badly hurt in the blast, he isn't going to make it. And like his eardrums are blown out, his eyes are gone, he's missing like both his legs. The dude's like a goner. And like Tanigaki is like shaking him and everything. He's like trying to yell at him, but he can't hear anything. He doesn't even know who he is. So like he can't like inform that like I found you, I'm getting my revenge. So like it kind of conflicts him for a minute.
Yeah, because it's like he's worked so hard for so long to find this dude so he can get revenge, and like now it's almost like it's being stolen from him because this guy is so injured.
Yeah. But then Kenkichi's laying there and he like grabs the guy, Tanigaki's hand, and he's like, I don't know who you are, but you need to deliver a message to a certain village and a man named Tanigaki. He's like, okay. He then goes on to say about how his wife got smallpox. And of course, back then, you got smallpox, you were probably dead.
No, you were like definitely dead, pretty much.
Yeah.
Like no one was coming back from that.
Yeah. And they didn't want her family or the village to find out, because then her family would be abandoned by the village and nobody would hunt with them, and it would just be total awful for them.
That was crazy to me, like that they would shun their entire family just because one of them got sick.
Well, but it makes sense, right? Because families back then, like, you're going to have contact with each other. So if one person in that family gets smallpox, the others will probably get it. And it's that time where, like, no one's testing. And it's a delayed symptom, right? So I'm assuming like 2 or 3 weeks after one person gets sick, other people start getting sick. And by that time, you've already hung out with that family. It's too late. You're sick. And then it spreads more and more. So it's probably like a cultural practice that was created out of necessity, right?
Yeah, I also wonder. Makes sense. Also wonder, because I know with some diseases or sickness, even I know in the case of the common cold, you can be a carrier but not have symptoms. Mm-hmm. So I wonder if smallpox was like that too. So of course you would assume the family then in that case. Mm-hmm. So on her deathbed, the two devise a way so that nobody would find out. What they do is Kenkichi stabs her through her heart to end her suffering. And then they burn the house down so they would never know she had gotten sick. I mean, with her burnt body, they would never know she had smallpox. And also it would actually probably kill the disease at the same time. Mm-hmm. When I think about it. And then like Tanigaki, he knows the truth now, and he like kind of forgives him. And then this is really clever. He gives him a piece of his kanai mochi that Kenkichi recognizes and realizes he must be talking to Tanigaki, and then like passes away. So that's almost kind of sweet. Like he knows his message got delivered, and that Tanigaki's now probably forgiven him.
Yeah, there's like a smile of relief kind of on his face as he passes away. At least I thought there was. I don't know.
Yeah, that story had some good twists and turns.
It really was good. Like it absorbed me in the story.
At first, I don't know about you guys, but I assumed he was going to betray him and let his father know, but then he didn't.
Yeah,
and then
I thought
he married
that
his sister, and then I'm like, is he going to tell his sister? Confide in her or something, and then she tells him, and then now he's murdered her and he's ran away, and I'm like, what is going on?
Well, because I thought this was all about how Tanigaki got kicked out of his tribe, and it was going to be about the mochi. I thought it was going to be like, you fucked with the mochi, Tanigaki, get the fuck out, you're dead to me now. Like I thought that was what was going to happen. And instead we get this like very touching story.
Yeah. So it was pretty good. And then like back in the present, they finally meet up with Sugimoto's group because they notice a Serpa doing some weird dance in the distance.
Oh, the crane dance or whatever.
The crane dance, yeah. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, he basically, and Tanigaki like definitely looks at a Serpa like maybe helping her is like my role in life now somehow. Like maybe doing this is going to be the thing that will like redefine who I am, because like after losing his sister and like being exiled from his village, like he first latches.
He didn't necessarily get exiled. He left on his own.
I guess, but yeah, I guess he couldn't go back now though, probably, or he wouldn't go back.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then like losing out on his revenge also, or like having his revenge become something that was like the wrong thing to do. And then going through the war and then latching on to like Tsurumi as like like someone to give him something to do. That kind of makes more sense now too. But now that he doesn't want to be with Tsurumi anymore, he needs something. He needs some guidance. And so it seems like it was just a really kind of great, interesting backstory to set up why he is motivated to help them in this quest. So it just worked really well.
Yeah, that's also why the backstory worked so well, because it gave good, solid meaning to what's happening now in the show, which is his motivation.
Yeah,
so that's awesome.
That does make sense. I liked the backstory a lot. The only thing I was irritated about was like the thing with at the very end where like he tells the story to the stranger, and then finds out that that's it's like too perfect almost, and it's like
yeah. I thought it was everything after that guy survived the grenade thing was pretty convenient to me, and it did bother me in the back of my mind. I was like, this is way too convenient, but at the same time I was like, whatever, it's Golden Kamuy.
Survived even with today's modern standards. I don't know if he was going to make it regardless.
yeah.
He was pretty bad.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. And yeah, this is just funny. It's just like part of the thing that drives me nuts about Cold Golden Kamuy. Like these last 2 episodes have been just like really fantastic to me. But it spent like half a season just doing dick jokes and like having ridiculous villains. And like, it's like now we're getting into like really cool fucking story shit. And it's like, God, Golden Kamuy, can you just like be a little consistent? Like, come on, let's try and do this here.
There were no dick jokes this episode.
That I remember.
Boner was in it, but that was it. But that's his name, so
maybe one of those grenades was like sticking out of the Russian dude's crotch, and I just missed it. I don't know.
Maybe.
I want to go back and look now.
Well, you do that while we move on to the next show, which is Run with the Wind.
Run with the Wind, episode 6, The Emperor's New Clothes. Okay, so
everybody get comfy. She wrote 3 pages
for
this.
It's fine. So
she can't deny it because it's true.
So you find out from the beginning that King is going to be the biggest focus of this episode, like based on the flashback of the outburst, like at the beginning before the song. And I'm like, oh, they did a flashback. How original. But, you know, it kind of sets the tone for the episode. So then when the episode finally gets rolling, King is in his room, like watching this trivia show on TV because he loves these trivia shows and yelling the answers at the screen. While in the background, Takashi is trying to get his attention because he's like, hey, everyone's going for the evening run. You should come with us. And he's like not interested, obviously. And Takashi asks if he'll go running tomorrow, and King just doesn't answer. And he's obviously not wanting to be on the team pretty much anymore at all. So, and I thought about this, like they're doing 2 runs a day, and then some people are doing 3 runs a day. And that's just a fucking lot of running. It's just
we talked about this last episode.
Yeah,
this
we
is
did.
Not
we did.
It's ridiculous.
But it's pretty bad. So I don't know, like so King does go on a run again with them the next day, but like Hana shows up. And everyone like flocks around her like always, but King isn't even interested anymore. And I'm like, oh, that's bad. Like he's not even interested in the hot girl. That's not good. Yeah. And then he just abruptly leaves without anyone else. And like, then the team goes to eat and discusses like, King has really closed himself off. And they're like worried about him and all this. And then Takashi says he's worried about King, but he's also worried about the team's budget. And they're talking back and forth, and even though they're officially recognized by the university, like they aren't even allowed to use the track, and they're not getting any money from the university. And I guess it's because they aren't taking the team seriously.
Which makes sense. I mean, like, what have they done? Right. You know, what have they proven, I guess? But
that's true.
Yeah.
And like they gave a good reason. They have other clubs that need to use that track.
Yeah, like the soccer team and stuff. And,
yeah. Still, it is the track. Like you would think.
Yeah, for the track team. Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, then when Eiji later asked the coach about it, he says like they don't have any money, and if he did, he would have renovated like the beat up track dorm a while ago, you know.
Yeah.
And he talks about how he's letting Eiji take the team to the Sakone race because he said he would do all the coaching, and he can tell he really wants to do it. But he reminds Eiji like that this world, and I think when he says this world, he means the world of track, but I guess you could also apply it to the world in general, isn't just about who's fast and who's slow. Like you need money, and you need like the team and to respect you and respect each other in order to keep going forward. And that's also part of running, like having everyone respect each other and having respect of the team, which I thought was an interesting little caveat. I don't know. There's like a scene later on where Kakeru is asking Nico like what kind of person Eiji is while Nico is working on his like programming stuff. And I love how Nico is like, Haiji's exactly how he looks. But Kakuro's really asking, like, as a runner, how is he? And Nico kind of tells him about how he had this injury. He must have really wanted to run even when he was told he couldn't run for a while after the injury. And like he was always really interested and like obsessed with running, even when he wasn't allowed by his doctor to do anything. So he has like this drive, basically. And Nico kind of agrees, like, we're not going to be able to go to Akane. Like, even with your skill, we're not going. I'm just humoring him and getting something out of this myself. But in the end, I don't think we're actually going to get there. Which is interesting, because you have some people in this team who are very into the team now and dedicated, but, like, they don't think that it's actually going to succeed. It's an interesting kind of dichotomy. So... Later on, Takashi and Musa make these shirts advertising the track team. And I guess like they're advertising like a fan club for the track team. And they all put them on while they run. And King comes back as they're trying on the shirts. And one of the twins is like, hey, did you land a job yet? And like Yuki just hits him like fucking hard because he does it really insensitively.
Which is deserved, because that was a stupid question to ask.
Well, I mean, it's a sensitive topic, and like you know. But King goes inside instead of getting changed and says he has his own shit to do, and he's really busy right now. And Haiji kind of like comes out and is like, "Forget whatever you're doing. Like we need to go run together." And like he can't run from the reality of all the stuff he has to do, but he can run with it. And King kind of mockingly replies, like, will running help me get a job? Like, no, I need to focus on this for my future. And Haiji says he doesn't know, but that standing still and being stressed will just make him anxious.
Yeah.
Which
I think Haiji is saying from personal experience, right? Because, like, when he had his injury, he probably just, like, was sitting around being anxious, like, thinking, can I ever run again? And at a certain point, he realized I just need to move forward and go on with my life. And I think he's telling King that, like, you're just sitting around being all anxious about, like, your future, and you're not doing things that you could be doing in the meantime to, like, take your mind off it. And running is one of those things. And, like he also says, like, you're always going to have responsibilities. It's up to you to decide, like, what you do alongside of those responsibilities to, like, live your life, basically, is, I think, what he's saying.
Yeah.
So it's a good point that he makes. Yeah,
it is a good point. And Haiji kind of says, like, I don't know. So King's like, why am I here? Why am I even here? And Haiji's like, you're here for us. And King is really pissed. And he's like, no, I'm not here for you. It's my life. I'm here for me and my life. And it's almost a dichotomy where, like, when you're a part of a team like this, your identity subsumes into the team. And, like, you're there for them and they're there for you. And and King is basically saying, like, no, I have my own life to live right now. I can't dedicate myself to this team. And Nico even tries to encourage him, saying, like, we're going to put on these shirts together and we're going to suffer this punishment game of wearing these dumb t-shirts. And the rest run off to start their run. And King is like, no, I'm not doing it. And Haiji tells King, like, don't get me wrong, you guys aren't just here for me, I'm here for you too. And King gets really, like, even more angry than he was and says, like, that's just lip service, and throws the shirt down and goes inside. And I do think it's a valid point that, like, Haiji says he's also there for them, but, like, I haven't seen him be there for them. It's almost always been about him and, like, his dream. I agree. So that is kind of... It'll be interesting if later we see Haiji start to actually be there for them.
That's what I said last episode.
Well, yeah, for sure.
I was saying Haiji's like being very selfish. Don't you love it? Yeah, selfish when words just escape you.
Yeah, no, we've been agreeing from the beginning. He was selfish. It's just like, it'll be interesting to see if he starts to change or if it is really just lip service that he's giving King here. And later on, King is out, and it looks like he's gambling. I don't know. Like, I guess you guys...
It's like he's playing Mahjong, and I think he is gambling, yes.
Yeah, like he's doing something
yeah,
interesting.
He's like out of money afterwards.
Yeah. And I'm like, you're so busy with your job stuff, huh, King? And he sees Takashi and Musa running through town advertising the fan club, and he's like, oh shit, they can't see me here. But he sees them. And obviously they're getting a few people to join. It was kind of cute. And then later on, the team minus King has a meeting, and Eiji says tomorrow they're going to start running cross country, which they say is kind of like running through nature. And they're all going to do 6 laps of 2.5 kilometers for 15 kilometers in total. But Kakaroo is running 8 laps instead of 6. And you see Kakaroo kind of like brace to be like excluded from the team because he's getting a different amount of laps.
Yeah.
And he like even starts to apologize. But they don't care, and they're not upset, and they're just like, oh,
yeah, they're like, you're the one who has to run the laps. Like, screw you. That sucks for you.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, this is different.
Yeah, and like he's just very pleasantly surprised that he isn't having the same issues he had with his last team, which is good. But yeah, later Takashi goes to King and asks him like, hey, I know you've had a hard time. I'm going to try to bond with you again. You want to watch this quiz show together? And King's like, don't worry about me. It's just making things more awkward. And he's kind of dramatic a little bit. And King asks why Takashi is so interested in the Kone when he's never done anything like this before. And they have this little heart-to-heart where Takashi basically says that, like, at first he did feel forced to do it, but now he feels inspired to do it. And, like...
Yup. You see, Leo? They're inspired now.
Exactly.
I said. Oh, I'm just joking.
I know. And Takashi wonders if King feels the same way about getting a job as Takashi feels about running. Like, that he doesn't like it, but yet he likes it at the same time, almost. Like, he feels like he didn't even like it at the beginning, but halfway through he realized it's more fun to do it when you choose to do it instead of feeling like, I have to do this thing. And he's kind of like, don't you feel the same way about finding a job? And they have a good back and forth about it. And at some point,
King says something like he doesn't even want to work at all. At some point, he says during this episode, and it's like that's obviously why he's having such a horrible time, like with this job search process, because it's like I don't even want to do this, but I feel like I'm forced to do it. I have to do it, and so that's how he felt about running as well, and that's why what Takashi says to him also gets to him,
and that makes sense. Yeah. And at some point, King realizes like he's taking advice from an underclassman, and they get he gets mad and they wrestle a little bit, and it's a good little bonding moment. And the next day, King is there to run in the morning, so he has had a change of heart, And oh my gosh, so like okay, Yuki and the Prince have this cute little back and forth where like Yuki's like, why am I running first thing in the morning? And Prince is like, shall we flee together? And Yuki's like, no, they'd catch us. You're too fucking slow. And Prince is like, so desu ne.
Oh, I love Prince.
Oh,
so
I know. And the King is the only one wearing his shirt today. And so, like, Nico's like, now it really is a punishment game. And apparently his shirt is missing a character. So it says, like, they're aiming for Hakone Station, like, instead of the race. Apparently, because, like, Musa wrote that one. And, like, obviously Japanese isn't his first language. So, like, whoops, he missed a character. But King, I don't know. And Takashi's like, wait, I'll wear mine too. And like, tries to include him again. And King kind of claims before they start running, like, well, he gets kind of tsundere and he's like, I'm only doing this to help me get a job. It'll look good on my resume. And like, it wouldn't be good to quit halfway through. And it's like, lol, like, we all know you're here for other reasons. Shut your pie hole. But yeah, at the end of this practice, like apparently everyone's time has improved quite a bit. But I found that to not be accurate because with like doing 3 runs a day, I feel like their times would probably go down, like in reality right now, if this was a real training session, because like if you go to the gym every single day and you don't take a break, your performance suffers when you're at the gym, because
well, like I said last episode, half of these guys would be injured.
Yeah,
probably.
They all would have been.
In all actuality, yeah.
And even if they don't get injured,
or what?
Even if you don't get injured, your performance suffers, because like your body needs time to recover, and if you're not giving it any time at all to recover, you're gonna see your performance, your times, your strength level go down each day that you continue to go without a break.
Right.
At least that's been my experience. So I found that to be pretty unbelievable.
No, resting is just as important as working out.
Exactly. Yeah. So I found that to be very unbelievable as someone who goes to the gym a fair amount. But yeah, leader Kakaroo and Eiji are talking while they're doing the dishes. And Kakaroo says like, I can't jog with the others because their paces are so different. And Heiji's like, well, at least you have friends now who understand like what you're doing and you get along well with them. And Kakaroo says like, well, Heiji, well, like what he's saying is true about like not only the chosen people being allowed to run, like anyone can run. He also thinks like running in general versus running in the Hakone are two very different things. And that not everyone can run in the Hakone. Only chosen people can run in the Hakone. And Kakaroo
it's like exactly what we were talking about after last episode.
Yeah.
Like, everything we talked about last podcast with regards to this show, like, seemed to come up in this episode as well, which is really funny to me. I don't know. As I was watching it, I kept noticing, like, all of our questions and conversations kept coming up. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Kakaroo kind of is like, what kind of running are you talking about? Because, like, I don't know what you really mean when you say these things. And Heiji's like, I don't know. I wonder what I mean, too. What is running? What does it mean to run? I need to find out. And Kakaroo's like, what? You don't even fucking know what you're talking about? What the hell? It's kind of funny and cute. And Kakaroo's like, listen, I really like the vibe of this team. Like, if we all keep training together, everyone can have fun and they don't have to get hurt. But that he's really amazed that Heiji got them all involved. And, like, because if they keep going, they're going to get fucked up if they go to the Hakone, like, emotionally. Because they're going to hit reality. And it's going to be like a sandstone grate or something on them. And, and it could mean the end of a team. And Heiji's basically like, I believe we'll overcome it, but Kakaroo is obviously still unsure that they can. So.
Yeah, so in the preview for the next episode, it looks like we're going to get the track meet. And so I guess my question for you guys is like, how do you think this track meet is going to go? Like, my one fun prediction is that, like, I think Prince is going to run much faster in shorts than he's been running in jeans, but I still don't see him getting under, like, 16:30. Like,
oh, no, because, like, he's still at 33 minutes or something.
Yeah. Like, there's just no way he makes it. The other guys are all, like, when they showed their times, like, last episode, they were all, like, several of them were very close or under. So I can see a lot of the other guys making it under 16:30. But I'm curious, like, what do you guys think is going to go down?
I think that this will be a turning point in the tone of the series. So far, it's been like the forming of the team, them bonding, them becoming a unit, like kind of inspirational. And then it's like, now that they've built this up, now they're going to come across the first hard brick wall that they're going to hit against and have to work to overcome. Like, I don't think it's going to go well. They're going to have to deal with that, come to terms, etc.
I think the reality is going to hit them hard. They're going to get depressed, and Haji's going to give a big inspirational speech. And I'm going to smash my head into my desk.
Jeez.
Also,
Jeez,
I just now realized if I'm having trouble sleeping, I'm going to re-listen to Kat give the synopsis for this episode.
Fuck you!
I thought it was a very good synopsis.
You. It was not a bad synopsis. It was a good synopsis.
If you notice, I wrote down a lot of stuff to say, and pretty much Kat brought up all of it. So
it's mostly the show.
Yeah.
Kat just happens to be narrating it. That's all.
Well,
no, she had some interesting insights into the way that like Shindo and King bounced off each other in this episode, and also Eiji. So no, it's not true at all.
I also had a thought, like, the way that Eiji views running is kind of the way that the U.S. viewed it during the running craze, like in the 80s or whatever. Do you remember that? Where everyone was, like, all into running because it was like, anyone can run. Running is for everyone. Everyone can be in shape with running. And everyone was really crazy about it. It reminded me of that.
Mm-hmm. I wasn't old enough to remember the 80s running craze.
I mean, I wasn't born in the 80s, but still, it impacted pop culture a lot. Like you see stuff about it from that time.
The face when I was born in the 80s, and now I feel super old. But yeah, I think one of the lines I remember from this episode is when King basically just calls Eiji a dreamer. He's like, "You're such a dreamer." And it's like, yeah, he kind of is. And it's like, depending on how you think of dreamer characters is how you're going to think about Eiji. You may not like that at all. Like, I think Leo probably does not like Eiji very much.
No.
Sometimes I don't either, because I think he's being unrealistic. But I'm more of a Kakiru in this show at times, where I'm like, no, there's no way they're going to be able to do this. And so I'm very curious how this is going to play out in the next episode, and how the track meet's going to go down. But I think we're done talking here, so let's take a short break and hear from some other podcasts.
Yeah, we'll see you back here.
Hey, Colin, did you get the cardboard cutout of Consul Kev?
Did I ever? It's amazing.
Oh, I think so too. I hate that guy. Kevin, what are you doing here?
Just eavesdropping on all the, the bad things you say about me. My usual Wednesday.
Oh, well, did you at least prepare for the Retro Gaming Podcast?
Absolutely not.
Oh, God, that figures. All right, it's okay. I'll take it from here. Basically, we pick a theme every time, and we pick a number of games based on that theme. Just like our first episode where it lasted forever and we talked about space games.
Yeah, and other good, all the mainstream systems and games you love, like the 3DO, the Atari Jaguar.
Oh, come on. Colin, you back me up here. The 3DO is awesome, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought we were friends. I mean, it's cool. All right.
If you want to hear three guys talk about games that are bad because JD picked them all, and good games that Kevin picked, join us.
Who here wants to see a bunch of nerds talking video games with a little bit of anime thrown in there? Nobody? Just me? Damn!
Well, speaking of anime, Colin, we have an anime cast as well.
Yes, we do. All retro anime. Many of which I have never heard of myself. And I'm a weeb!
A very similar premise there. We pick a retro anime, at least 15 years or older, and we review it every episode. We also keep up on all the modern stuff, all the seasonal things from the year. Hey, Kevin, you just got back into wrestling, right?
I did.
Oh my god, did you know we also have a wrestling cast that just started?
I do now, because nobody tells me anything.
Well, what do you think of the big dog these days?
He still sucks.
Well, that's good. Well, luckily, we just don't complain about WWE stuff. We also talk about a lot of the latest and greatest from the rising indie scene, New Japan, and Ring of Honor.
I like rings and honor.
Well, you should definitely listen to the Red Leaf Retrocast. We have such a wide range of topics, ideas to discuss, and just anything to review. It's fantastic, don't you guys think so?
It's alright!
Absolutely. And thanks again for the Sailor Moon episode. That's got me a lifetime supply of salt for my fries. From the fans. Ha!
That's the Red Leaf Retrocast. All things gaming, anime, and wrestling, found on all your favorite podcasting websites.
Warning, the following clip may contain descriptions of explicit behavior conducted by Bishi boys.
Now, that's not to say he didn't get physical. Quite the opposite, in fact. Our boy Kent was researching all the ways to please a woman.
Pulled his lever.
And he put some of that learning into effect, if you know what I mean. Let me give you a scene from the show that I really quite liked. My research shows that women find it pleasurable if men place their fingers here, then apply some pressure and begin to rub that area. Do you enjoy that? Is it giving you pleasure? Please respond. I need verbal... Please respond. I gotta get this out. Get it out. Please respond. I need verbal confirmation that this is something that you enjoy. Heroine sadly tells him that it's hurting her as he's rubbing her too vigorously. Ow. Despondent Ken removes his fingers and looks at them. Perhaps I applied too much pressure. Don't worry, Kent. Head pats are difficult to master.
And that was Yata from the Reanimator Pod. If you want to hear more, you can check out our website. That's reanimatorpod.com. We release new episodes every Monday.
Don't drop that. Don't drop that.
The Trash Pandas bring you this nugget from another trash can. What happens when Brains and Bullets discuss episode 2 of One Punch Man?
Pretty much gene splicing heads. They will
Yep.
Yeah, they will splice genes. They have a cyborg gorilla. They have frog that walks on two legs and communicates at long range. Like they got. You think they splice
The Lion King?
Yeah, they have the lion. They have a lion, beast king, and
Simba.
Yeah, he's Simba. I don't mean he's Simba. I mean he's Simba.
We at Trash Pandas Watch Anime dig through the trash so you don't have to. You can find the Trash Pandas Watch Anime podcast on iTunes, SoundCloud. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter where you'll get live updates from what we do.
And we're back with Bunny Girl Senpai. Yes. Okay, episode 6, The World You Choose. So at the beginning of the episode, Sakura goes back to school, and people, especially the girls, are all fucking talking their mouth about them.
They respect
about
him now.
Especially.
They put some respect on his name.
They don't respect him. They like, it's like every romantic dream they have in their pretty little heads, okay? That's what it is. Sakura worries that now everyone is like so invested in what he did, it's going to be harder to convince people that he and Koga broke up. So he's like, oh, fuck. Maybe I shouldn't have done that so publicly. Why does he always do everything so fucking publicly?
It's true. Like I was saying last podcast, it's like typical light novel harem protagonist kind of like,
exactly.
I have to sacrifice for the greater good of the girls kind of thing. Yeah.
Insist.
Oh, my life is so hard being surrounded by these women who love me. Oh,
yep.
the trials of my life. Boo-hoo. Later, Sakura is studying with Mai, and it's clear that Mai is like really irritated, or maybe more like agitated is the best term. Mm-hmm. She and Sakura talk about where they want to go to college and how Sakura has to study really hard if he wants to get into the same school as her. And Sakura kind of doesn't seem interested very much because he's really bad at studying, apparently.
Yeah.
And Mai is like, would you be more motivated if I tutored you in a bunny outfit? Ooh.
Hell
and
yes.
he kind of agrees that he would be motivated in various ways.
So I'm not gonna lie, this reminded me of studying in high school with my high school girlfriend in various ways.
Oh my
Dude,
god!
I saw that note and I was like, did he dress up? Did she dress up for him?
Did he dress up? Yes, Leo. I dressed up in a bunny girl outfit so my girlfriend could get motivated.
He dressed up in a police uniform, like in a stripper police uniform for her while she was studying. And then every time that she finished a section, you took off a piece of clothing.
Oh, hell yeah. That's a good idea. I should do that now.
This is okay. This just sounds like Kat's fantasy at this point.
I mean,
it's a good fantasy.
How do you know that this wasn't my reality? You don't know. But yeah, no. So Maya quickly changes into it. Sakura seems surprised that like it was so easy to get her to do this, but Maya kind of responds like, "I need to give you a carrot every now and then," and this kind of made me pissed because I was kind of like, "Listen, if Sakura wants to fucking study and like plan for his future, then he can do that himself. Like, she doesn't have to sit there and baby him and go around and do all this shit for him. He can decide what he wants to do. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's true, but I still really like this playful banter in between them.
It's cute.
Because, like, she's focusing him. She's like, you need to get focused. If you want to be with me, like, you need to, like, focus right now and, like, figure shit out. You can't just, like, half-ass this. And so he's like,
well,
all right.
But she shouldn't have to tell him that.
Well,
like,
no,
he should
ideally.
know that himself and be like, I can't half-ass this. But instead, it's like she has to coach him on how to properly, like, date her. Like, I don't know. It's annoying. But at the same time, it's to be expected because y'all boys are lazy. Let's just put it that way.
True.
Anyway.
How dare you?
It's true. Okay. So Mai is agitated that Sakuta got in that fight for Koga's sake, and like that's what this is really all about. We find out she's a little jealous, so she didn't think that he would go that far for her. And Sakuta's like, "But I love you," and she gets mad that he's quote unquote openly cheating when he's still dating Koga.
That was really funny to me. Like she's like pinching his cheek, like you're openly cheating on your fake girlfriend. It's great.
Yeah, it's all right.
But he has her agreement. So.
I know, but it was still funny. Like, and the joke is that they both know that it's a dumb joke, and yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, it's all right. But yeah, later Koga and Sakuta go shopping for a new swimsuit for Koga, and they do the whole thing where they're like, "Ooh, which swimsuit would you like, Sakuta? Do you want me to wear this, or do you want me to wear this?"
Severely lacking of fan service.
Yeah.
You mean tasteful?
I only want to wear what pleases you. Yeah, no. I only want to wear what pleases you, Sakuta. And it's just like, wah, wah. But yeah, he replies that she's the reason the relationship, like, but, okay, so Koga's like, I bet you don't do this with Mai, and Sakuta's like, yeah, we can't because she's in show business, and, like, she can't go out like that because she might get photographed. And Koga's like, I'll help you with Mai, like, I'll make it so you guys can find time. And, like, he kind of replies, like, well, but you're the reason our relationship is so distant right now. And later, Sakuta brings up they should plan how to publicly break up since, like, what they were wanting to accomplish has been accomplished. Koga says she wants to dump him because she realized he can't get over Mai and slap him, and then that's how they will break up. And she wants to have the fake argument after their beach day tomorrow. And I think that Sakuta's just like, whatever the fuck you want to do, as long as we can get out of this. So he agrees. The next day is like the Friday right before summer break. Kunimi and him discuss like what they're going to do over the break. They have a final assembly at school. You know, everything's all good. Koga and Sakuta end up going to their beach date, have a really good time. Later in that evening, as the sun goes down, they shake hands, and Koga says, like, in the end, you couldn't get over Mai, so I'm gonna dump you. And she doesn't slap him, but she's like, I'll say I slapped you, and then they leave.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, it's over. Like, now we're gonna go on. But the next day, oh, it's Friday again, because time is repeating.
I wanted to say,
bet you didn't see that coming.
Yeah, that was obviously coming. Saw that coming from a fucking mile away.
Yeah.
Exactly. He asks Sakuta if this is the second loop for her, but she claims it's the first time. And he asks Futaba about it later, and she's like, well, it's so obvious that a first grader would know, but like, Koga's lying to you, all right?
Yeah.
So they go on the date all over again. Time repeats that Friday a third and then a fourth time. And then on the fourth time, on the way to school, he asked Kunimi, like, what would you do, hypothetically, if there was another girl who was in love with you other than your girlfriend? Like, what would you do? And, like, I don't want to force the feelings out of this girl that she hasn't even told me because that's presumptuous of me. But, like, I feel like I need to do something. And Kurumi, like, after some thought, is like, I do wonder what I would do. So he's really no fucking help.
By the way, I liked how stubborn Sakuta was through these like 4 like repeated days. Like he basically just went and did the exact same thing, even though he knew that this was something that like she's probably lying about. Like he didn't give her any satisfaction and didn't change at all. He was just like, no, I'm going to just play like this is exactly the same. It's going to play out the exact same way. We're going to fake break up and I'm going to go back to my like real girlfriend. And like if she wants to keep repeating the day, fine, she can do it, but I'm not going to change for her until he gets like, you know, he goes one step too far. He's like, no, I'm not doing this anymore.
Really? I kind of wondered if he was just like waiting to see if she would eventually change her mind and realize it's not going to work out or something.
Maybe, but either way, he wasn't giving in to her.
Doing.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I find it admirable because he only does do it 4 times. Like it's not like he does it 100,000 times and he was so strong, and you know.
Yeah, it's true. Nobody is Yuki Nagato from Haruhi Suzumiya. Nobody has that level of restraint.
Yeah. So, so then on the 4th day, Sakuta refuses to go to the beach with Koga because it's his 4th repeat of today. Mm-hmm. And at first, like, when he walked off, I thought he was going to be like, see ya, bitch. I'm not going to do shit with you. I'm done. Because he does seem irritated on the 4th day. Yeah. Like, it seems like his patience is running thin. And like, they decide they're going to go to, like, Enoshima instead. But before that, Koga's like, oh, so we aren't going to the beach? And Sakuta replies snarkily, like, oh, thank goodness you can take a hint. And I'm like, oh, bitch, that's a sick burn. So they have a good time. And yeah, I don't think
yeah, she is, like, to be fair, she kind of deserves that level of snark at this point since she's been lying to him. Yeah.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, he probably could have been more upfront with her from the beginning, too. It's like one of those cases where, like, someone's angry that you've done them wrong, but they've, like, sat there and allowed you to do it for, like, a while.
Yeah.
And you've got to, and both people are at fault because you're kind of like, well, but you didn't say anything.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so, so they have a good time on their date, and they do a bunch of stuff, like go up a bunch of steps. I guess they're going to a shrine. Mm-hmm. They get to the shrine, and they have these votive tablets for like good relationships. And Koga's like, I'm gonna fill one out with you and I, because like that seems like a good idea. And Koga is really against this, and she's like, it'll be like lying to the gods. But Sakuta kind of says, well, we decided to deceive everyone, so when we decided that, we were prepared to go to hell. Whatever. And I'm like, okay, Sakuta. He's obviously in a shit mood.
Wait, I thought he said point. It's not a problem because I'm the only one lying here.
Yeah, he says that next. He also says that. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, so then like Leo said, he's basically, Koga still is unsure, and he's like, I'm the only one lying, it's fine. And then after this, Sakuta sort of confronts Koga and says like, you should stop with the lies as well. And it's like, even if it was pretend, we went out for 3 weeks, and I'm the type that can take hints but chooses not to. I'm like, okay, I don't know what type that is. An inconsiderate asshole, maybe.
Yeah, basically.
Pretty much. And he's like, no matter how many times you roll the dice, you can't change people's feelings for others. And like, lies will never become reality, and the truth will never become lies. And Koga's like, well, but what if I do this to you 100 times or 1,000? And I'm like, oh shit, is this like a hostage situation now? Yeah. Like, be my boyfriend or you'll be stuck in time forever.
Yeah.
Like, that would be fucked up. And he's like, yep, no matter how many times you do it, I'm going to still love Mai, and that's not going to change. And Koga's like, well, you're a liar because feelings do change. And I feel like that's a good point. Like, people's feelings change.
Yes.
They're not set in stone.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so she just has this like very cheesy moment at this point where she's like, I love you and blah, blah, and my feelings have built up, and I just want to be friends with you, but I can't get over my feelings, and boo-hoo. You know, all the soap opera shit that It's a good scene, though. It's just a little cheesy.
It's pretty decently well done, but it's like nothing unexpected at the same time. It's like, oh, this is how
it's got
this
a lot
would
of
go.
tropey stuff in it. It's got a lot of like, and then it starts raining, and yeah.
And then she screams, "I love you" at him, and then I like his little thing of like, you tried really hard there, like, because obviously what she did touches him. But at the same time, he's like, no, you're not my main girl, though. Sorry.
You not my main girl. You my side bitch, honey.
Exactly. As we established.
Yeah. But yeah, So yeah, he says, she's like, I love you. And he's like, Gambate. Like, you did your best. And I'm just like, okay. And, you know, it's all very fun. And the next day, time repeats again, and I'm like, oh, it didn't work. But then you find out it's from the very beginning of the very first repeat, like a month ago.
Yeah,
like a
crazy.
fucking month ago. And Sakura's amazed because it's been like a month. The whole month was a simulation, basically.
Yep.
Like, and I thought it was hilarious because Futaba said that would happen at the very beginning. And I think we all just kind of forgot about that.
No, I didn't forget about that. So I kind of expected this to happen, but I still liked the way it played out. But I remembered Ryo or Futaba saying that back then, like, well, if this goes wrong, if the current state of things like goes wrong with you, it'll probably just roll back to the beginning again, and she'll have to figure out some other way to like ease her like weird broken heart. So yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So he gets to ask Mai out again. She agrees to go out with him, and even gets her to kiss him on the cheek after he asks her how she feels. Like, he doesn't get a full confession, but he gets that. He sees Koga turn down that guy finally, like stand up for herself and say like, I like someone else who doesn't even have a smartphone. And kind of Koga scolds him because like she's going to lose her place in the class. But I guess she's kind of learned from this, like she doesn't need to care that much about losing her place. And Sakura's like, well, we'll be friends. And Koga's like, well, I'm the one letting you be my friend. And I thought that was kind of cute.
Yeah.
Oh, and the exams were the exact same, so I bet he fucking aced those exams.
Yeah, they didn't really say it, but I was like, when he said like, oh, and the exams were the exact same, I was like, hell yeah.
How many times has he taken an exam now?
I don't know.
You really had to think about he took it a lot.
Yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, I think at least
he
4.
took a lot of exams. I guess that's Japan, though, in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, he asked Futaba later, like, why he's the one who got entangled in Koga's, like, weird repeat phenomenon, and she says it's probably something called quantum entanglement, and this occurs after two particles collide, and he replies that, like, she's like, well, did you collide with her? Like, did you run into her or something? And he replies, they kicked each other's butts. And I was like, wait, what? And I could not remember, a moment when this would have happened.
I like how Futaba's like, I want to perform an experiment, turn around. And he's like, no, thanks.
Yeah, they say kicking each other's butts, like, through a couple of episodes.
Yeah.
Like, it kept getting brought up for whatever reason. But anyways.
Yeah. Oh, at the very end of the episode, like, he and Mai are walking home together, and there's another student waiting in the rain with a kitten in a box, and like Sakura takes it home, and he's like, oh, this girl whose name is Shoko is like, I want to adopt the cat later. So they exchange phone numbers, and so another harem begins.
Indeed.
Like another harem story. And I was just like, oh shit, is this gonna just be Mae like basically waiting forever for her turn to fucking date him while he has to date all these goddamn bitches to fix their problems?
Didn't we think this was going to happen from the beginning?
Well, no, we all knew it was going to happen, but seeing it play out irritates me a little. But like, I know it's coming. I know it. But it still irritates me slightly.
But it doesn't irritate me as much because, like, we get so many good moments between Mai and him at the same time that it's just like, well, I'm getting everything I want here, so it's fine.
It's really well done as a series. Like, as a harem...
patient and understanding girlfriend ever. She's like... damn near like perfect levels at this point.
She fucking works hard for him. She works too hard for him. She needs to learn to like work less hard. Let's put it that way.
Seacat,
Make him do some of the work.
He was the only person in the entire world who knew she existed. And
God.
No. And I don't know. It's a male fantasy. I understand that. It's a really well done anime though, and so even as the harem aspects sometimes grate on my nerves a little bit, I do enjoy the show as a whole, and I think it's really well done for what it is, and it's really interesting to watch. So I'm willing to forgive it a little, but I'm still going to bring up the bullshit when it comes along.
So I have one note about the girl who showed up at the end with the kitten in the box, is that we've actually heard her name before, briefly. And it was in a previous episode when he's talking to Mai about his past and what went down with his sister. And he talks about a girl who he met who helped him get over his sister's adolescence syndrome, whose name was Shoko Makinohara. So this is that girl, who apparently had disappeared and without a trace back then. So yeah, that's why he had such a big reaction to her. For him, I guess a big reaction for him is nothing for somebody else. But you can see he's taken aback when he actually sees her. I also liked one little joke in the episode when they're making sandcastles, and they're gonna see whose sandcastle stands up to the waves better, and then the water comes in and it goes into the butt imprints that Tomoe had been making, and forms a little moat, and he's like, "Your butt saved you."
Hey, she's no Rika Takarada.
She's no Rika. Those would be huge aqueducts in the fucking sand, but but yeah, it was good.
Wow.
Right.
Okay. That was a lot said.
Indeed.
So, let's talk about some banana fish.
Bananas and fish.
Yeah.
Banana fish. Episode 18, Islands in the Stream. Hey, this is the second thing with an island in the title.
And it's also the second episode in a row that is a Ernest Hemingway novel or short story. Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
I guess all the episode titles have been by short stories or novel titles from famous American authors like Hemingway or F. Scott Fitzgerald.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's
and
interesting.
Banana Fish is we talked about is a reference to famous story. So yeah, it makes sense.
It's kind of literature based, which I liked. I do want to point out before we even start, one of my biggest things that I got irritated on was the okay, I know this song is played several times now, but the grammar of the English in the beginning is really pissing me off every week. Is this just me?
Get away from the dark nightmare.
Okay, so we've been looking for each other from now on. We have been looking for each other from now on. No, bitch, we'll be looking for each other. We will be. It's not even, it wouldn't even fuck up their rhythm to fix this. Or get away from dark nightmare. All they had to do was put get away from dark nightmares, and it would have been fine grammatically, but they didn't.
There's a lot wrong with the grammar, yeah.
Are you talking about the OP?
Terrible.
Yeah, the opening. Yeah, the opening
Okay,
song.
yeah, see, I skip it, so I'm like, what the fuck are these two talking about?
Well, okay, but if you're gonna put English in a fucking song, another language in your song, you should probably check to make sure that it makes sense in that language, what you just said.
What about the ED for Double Decker? That's got English in it.
That's not as bad, though. Most of the things they say make sense.
This is a common problem with Japanese songs, though.
It is. It's just...
I think they do it on purpose
not
a lot of the time.
It hasn't happened before. I don't think they do it on purpose. I think they're just careless because they don't give a fuck. They don't give a single fuck.
It could be.
And I feel like if we use another language in some song, we would give a fuck. And so they should rightly give a fuck about the grammar and the English that they use.
That's true. We should hold them to our standards. It's bullshit.
Exactly.
Okay, so the show cuts right to the chase and immediately kills off Colonel Hallstock. His chauffeur gets shot right through the head, and they careen into a semi carrying fuel.
Presumably Blanca sniped the guy, yeah. Right?
It's Blanca. It wasn't even necessary to say that. Come on.
Well, yeah, obviously. I love the stupid explosion though. It just swerves into that oil a gas truck, and it's just a little huge explosion in the distance. And I was like, okay, that's a good way to start the episode.
Yeah, and then it does a complete about face, and we get this like happy husband and wife routine Eiji and Ash are playing. Basically, it's Eiji trying to get Ash out of bed, and it's just like played out as like this whole comedy skit. First, he like just tries to wake him up, and he doesn't get him up, so he like throws him in the shower, but then he doesn't even turn the shower on, so he sets him at the dinner table to get some food and eat, and then like he falls asleep there, so he just throws him back in the shower and turns it on. And it finally wakes him up. And then eBay and Max show up, and Ash and Max leave to talk about the report on the plants that he had Max have a specialist look at. Apparently that specialist was very surprised at all the work he put into it. But they don't get any farther than that when Ash sees that the colonel has died on the TV, and he knows for sure it was an accident. He then takes Max to the building where that really hard shot was made, and that's where he sees an Ernest Hemingway book that was left behind there, and it makes him think it might have been Blanca. This gets explained a little bit more later on. So Blanca has found out that Ash is hiding away in that apartment that is just across from Dino's office, and he shows it to him and Yut Lung and tells him to wait for Ash won't be able to resist. And like Ash is like sitting in the apartment. He's like, if it's Blanca, then for some reason he's figured out where I'm probably at. So like, in like a very risky move, he goes to the window and just rips open the curtains. But then nothing kind of...
It's pretty risky, I agree.
Yeah, I'm like, yeah, he's very good. You're going to die. But nothing's happening. And then Eiji steps into the room, and that's when the bullet comes flying through the window and grazes his arm, and like Ash jumps on him, and then like you can tell it's very intentional. He then like just starts shooting around their body and not hitting them. And then they get out of the room, and then like Ash then gets on the phone with Blanca, and he, it's confirming it's definitely him. And then he like gives the phone to Yut Lung, and he tells Ash he has a hit out for Eiji, and he hired Blanca to do it, and also to meet him in a certain warehouse tomorrow. Ash also has a memory of Blanca reading the book from the building just before he retired, so that's how he like recognized it.
Right.
Yeah.
I also like the way Blanca talks to Ash. He's like, "Hey, sweetie." Just like everybody talks to Ash this way. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So later on, Ash stands like in front of a window and is truly like, we have not really seen him like truly scared. Maybe the only other time at this level was when he had to kill Shorter. So so that right there tells us Blanca must be just like this crazy badass guy.
Yeah.
He then goes to Eiji, who is like just like resting in bed, and like Eiji invites Ash to go back to Japan with him when it's all over, and Eiji tells him a little bit about Japan and his hometown and all that. It's just like a kind of like a touching sort of scene, I guess. The following morning, Eiji is like running a fever, and Ash has eBay come and watch him while he goes to the warehouse without anyone else's knowledge. He, of course, he gets surrounded, and Yut Lung goes up to him and tells him if he shoots himself in the head, he promises to never lay a finger on Eiji. Ash takes the gun from him right away, puts it to his head, and pulls the trigger without any hesitation.
Oh, I know. He doesn't even think about it for like a second.
That was
He's
pretty
just like,
fucking hype, I have to say. I was like, damn.
Like, let's do it.
But it's just
and
like,
I'm like, the fuck, dude?
I just love Yut Lung's like reaction to that when he just like recoils and he's like, why for him, why? Like it was great. Yeah
but like I said, there was no bullets in there, and it just clicks, and Yut Lung is just like, he's blown away. He's like, why for him, like he almost seems jealous.
Absolutely.
I think he's more jealous of the love that he sees than like of them in particular.
Because I guess Yut Lung's really never had any love in his life.
Definitely not.
But I also think he sees it as like something insane. Like he wants it, but he also thinks it's crazy to feel that way.
Yeah. And what's also interesting is like they show a shot of Dino and then Blanca, or the way around, and they don't look surprised in the least.
Yeah.
They're just like, that's something he would do, basically. So, like they don't even like they specifically show them not even batting an eye. Like this is exactly how they knew this was going to play out. But then like Yetlung's like losing it, but then Blanca steps in, calms down, and he's like, all right, plan B now. So Yetlung says that if he gives them all the information they have on Banana Fish and the professor, and that he will also be going back to working for Dino as a prostitute, a very low level prostitute. That what's Dino say that
he's like, you'll experience things that you've never even imagined. It's like
you'll experience some things that like other low level prostitutes couldn't even like survive or something. Is fucking weird.
Yeah, I was like, calm down.
Yeah, it's like, well, I mean, I don't know. Like at that point, aren't you just going out of your way to find terrible things to do to him?
Yeah, they also
I mean,
they also say they'll leave Eiji alone and can go back to Japan in peace, and they won't bother him. And like Ash agrees pretty much right away for the most part. And like before they can leave, Ash he's like, I just want to punch Blanca, and Blanca's like gets the okay from Dino, and like then Blanca just like pretty much just he's playing with Ash. She's beating him very easily in this little fight they have. And then like at the end, Blanca wants to have a word with Ash, and then like Dino and like everybody leaves so they can have their privacy. And what their conversation boils down to is like Blanca telling Ash he only agreed to train him way back when in the first place because basically he saw the potential in him and that he could really only live in that world he's in. Outside of it, he wouldn't survive, even and especially without the training. Mm-hmm. He also says he should go back to Dino since he will have all the money and power and everything he will ever need if he goes back, because Dino will then again groom him to be his eventual replacement. Ash then says that what makes Eiji so special to him is because he is the only guy to care for him and not want something in return. And we've been seeing a lot of that about Eiji this whole time. So that was cool. Mm-hmm. Ash asks Blanca for one thing, and that's not to harm Eiji. And Blanca seems kind of moved, but he's like, I can't necessarily agree with that. I can't. I'm just not in the situation.
He's a professional, like he has to fulfill his target. But like he says, like, I'll be praying for you, right? Or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, he says, I'll be praying for you, though. Mm-hmm. Before the night is over, the show ends with Ash getting the professor and holding Max at gunpoint to get the info they have on Banana Fish. And like the lawyer's like, what the fuck? We can't give it to him. And Max, like, he knows like the only reason Ash would do this is if Eiji's life was in danger. So he just goes ahead and he gives him the stuff and he's like, all right, save your friend.
Yeah.
He then ends up delivering all the items, and then he's just like sitting in one of like Dino's cars, like looking very defeated, which is a look we have not really seen on Ash's face. And like Blanca's like looking at him with like, he's like really kind of saddened. He's like pitying him by it and stuff like that. So like it makes me feel like Blanca may have a change of heart or do something that's, greatly in Ash's favor to fix the situation. I feel like.
I think so too. Yeah. Part of what makes me think that is, so this episode, like we said, was named after an Ernest Hemingway novel called Islands in the Stream, and like the novel is in the show too. It's sitting there when Ash goes to look at it, in the sniper's nest, and the actual like events of this novel definitely relate directly to Blanca as a person. The main character of the novel is a guy named Thomas Hudson, who's this painter who finds solitude on an island in the Bahamas, just like how Blanca has found this quiet life in the Caribbean that he's like coming out of retirement for. And Thomas Hudson in this novel also like struggles with the death of his sons. And like has to come to terms with it. And I think Blanca very much sees Ash sort of like a son of his. And so I definitely think Leo's onto something when he thinks that Blanca will like eventually turn and help Ash out in some way. Mm-hmm. I think that's totally true, or it's totally going to happen. One other thing that I noticed, I made a mistake. So the Corsican Mafia, I got totally messed up. I thought they were Italian Mafia, and I was really confused this episode why they kept calling Dino Monsieur, which is like
Blanca specifically, right?
What, Corsican Mafia?
No, calling him Monsieur or whatever.
Oh, I think it was mostly Blanca calling him Monsieur.
I'm pretty sure because I think I saw your note, and then I was doing my review on it. Then it was only him saying it the whole time.
Yeah, but like, yeah, monsieur is like a French term of like Mr. or Sir, and so I was like very confused because I was like, well, if he was in the Italian mob, they would be using a different term than monsieur. So yeah, Corsica, I got mixed up with Sardinia. They're both like big islands off the western coast of Italy, but Corsica is actually a French territory. So the Corsican mob is actually French. That makes a lot more sense.
Bcom,
Yeah.
this season's theme is French. Chloe lived in France.
I know, right?
Shirogane is from France.
Oh yeah, I should have known just by all the other shows.
Maybe there's
we're
like a
covering.
trend in Japan of French.
I guess I got also thrown off because
French
his name
everything.
is Dino Golzine, which is a very Italian-sounding name. But yeah, he's French mafia, so that makes sense.
I didn't know the French had a mafia.
I guess they do. I think everybody has a mafia, honestly, except for Antarctica. They don't have a mafia yet.
Do you think that in other countries is there like an American mafia?
I don't know. I don't think so.
Like if you go to like China, is there like the American mafia?
The underground American. I say I don't think so. That there probably could be in certain places. Yeah.
So you said Antarctica doesn't have a mafia, and I immediately imagined a penguin with a gun to your head.
He's already dressed in black and white. He looks real dapper.
Exactly.
or people going around in parkas, just like threatening, like don't move. We have icicles. They're sharp as anything you've ever seen.
It's real hard out there for the Antarctic Mafia. But yeah, mostly I just thought this episode was pretty hype. Like my favorite moment was definitely Ash just taking the gun and like immediately trying to shoot himself. And I was like, damn, I get it now.
Maybe there's like a dark future version of a place further than the universe, and all the girls turn into like mafia hitmen, and they're called the Antarctica Mafia.
Yes, absolutely.
I would watch that. It'd be great.
It's a future generation. They founded themselves because of the money left behind.
Which one's the honeypot, though?
I don't know.
All right, this is getting ridiculous. Let's move on. Oh, you know what else is ridiculous? This 3 pages of shit that Kat wrote.
God. But Zombieland Saga deserves pages of shit. Let's be honest.
I love it, but good God.
All right. It's not even that bad. I think you're being a little unfair. Okay, so episode 6 of 12, because it's sentimental, Saga. At the beginning of the episode, those guys from last episode in the Saga Zine editorial department are looking into the Franchuchu girls. So, like, I guess they've been looking into them for, like, a month and a half ever since the last episode. Mm-hmm. And they can't find any social media of the girls, like, only their idol activities, which is really strange, obviously, in, like, a modern context. But, yeah, so that's how much time has passed, basically. It's been a month and a half since the mud escapades of last episode. Back at the zombie house, the girls have been practicing this new song where I and Junko are going to have a duet, and they're going to be like the main stars. And I is going through the dance to review the flow of the dance again while the others take a break. And Sakura gets like flashes of what I looks like as a person before she died as she does this, and she comments that it happened again. Does she mean like just getting
flashes? Like, I think, yeah,
flashbacks.
Like,
because I was like, what?
I think flashes like she's seen them before all of this happened or something, or like memories coming back to her. Almost, I think, is what is happening. Yeah.
Okay, because I was like, I don't really know what you mean. But yeah, so the manager is taking a bath later. And apparently he uses medicated shampoo. They make a note of showing you this.
Yeah.
And I was like, is this going to be some strange plot point later on?
I also like that he bathes with his sunglasses on.
Oh, I know. Like, we're never going to see. This is going to be like Kakashi and his, like, bandana thing. Like, we're never going to see what this dude looks like without sunglasses. Ever.
I want some sunglasses like his now, and then nobody will know why I wear them. Only I will. Well, maybe you do.
I almost want an episode where they try to take them off him. Like, they had the episode where they try to take the thing off, the face thing off Kakashi. And they can't, no matter what they do.
Always gotta go back to Naruto, don't you, Kat?
All right, I know I love Naruto too damn much, but still,
it's relevant
there's
to
a
this,
there's a reference
episode.
here. It's similar, okay. Okay. Anyway, so meanwhile, the girls look up what idols are big right now on the computer, and they end up having to explain to Yugiri what a computer is, and that's adorable. And apparently, they're afraid the manager will catch them, and I didn't realize, I guess, that they weren't allowed to access the computer or anything. That kind of makes me think differently of this whole situation, because it's one thing to be like, you have to stay here because you're zombies and you could cause problems. It's another thing to be like, you can't access the internet and I'm going to lock you in this room without any information or ability to access the outside world.
They don't specifically say what's going on. You're just kind of led to believe. Or he just doesn't want them to use it because it's his personal computer, maybe? It's the only one he has?
No, it's definitely an access issue. So that makes me concerned, like, that there's somehow part of some, like, slave labor cult. Yeah.
Well,
but yeah, whatever. Ai says that this should be fine and that it's the third time she's done this. And Ai is such, okay, so like I know that everyone thinks that like Saki is the bad girl or whatever, but like Ai is totally the bad girl, like the baddest girl in disguise, because she's the one who instigates all this shit. Mm-hmm. Let's be real.
That's true.
She's the real one.
Nah, Saki's still the bad girl to me.
She's not a bad girl.
I love
she's
Saki
like got a heart
as
of gold.
A character.
She's the delinquent with a heart of gold. That's what Saki is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I adore Saki. It's just she's not the one instigating shit.
Right.
Like that's I. But yeah, Lily asked if there's a homepage for their idol group and like they should check it out if there is. And Ai's like, oh, there is, but we shouldn't look at it because it was so lame that you would die even if you are a zombie already. Oh my gosh. But yeah, so next they check out the idol events in Saga and they're like, ooh, what could we do? And they discuss like Saga Rock and Mintai Rock and how they're a big deal in Kyushu. And this kind of flew over my head. This is probably something people in Japan understand a lot better.
Right.
But apparently there's this rock festival called the Saga Rock Festival, and it's the largest outdoor rock event in Kyushu. More tourist inserts is what I see here.
Yep.
More chances for them to plug things going on in Saga. So they discuss how in Junko's day, groups... Okay, and this was interesting. This is like the heart of this episode.
Yeah.
So in Junko's day, she's like in a previous generation from the others. Well, besides maybe like... Yugiri is like older
from whenever,
but Junko is like Showa era, right? So like 60s, 60s, 70s, right?
Who, like, I think is just a big question mark, also.
Yeah, but is it okay? So I mean, obviously Yugiri is like from the old days, like the 20s or something,
like
maybe
possibly the Arrow period. I mean, for Christ, all we know.
Yeah, whereas I think she's supposed to, Junko is supposed to be from the Showa era, right? So, like the 60s, kind of,
yeah. I
think, is what they're going for.
Like when they showed her on TV in this little bit, it looked like, like 60s era televisions.
Yeah. So, and they discuss how in that day, in Junko's day, groups didn't mature or like become very popular very quickly. And so they were very skilled by the time they were popular because they'd been in the industry for so long. It takes them so long to get up to the point where they're popular. Whereas when I was popular, much more recently, like groups, especially idol groups, become popular like very quickly, like almost meme fast, right? Like one day they just become popular. And they're not necessarily very skilled when they do become popular. They just are suddenly thrust into the spotlight. And like fans like that in some ways because they like seeing them become more skilled as time goes on and contributing to that increase in skill. So it's like a difference of era.
Yeah.
And that's interesting. I thought that was interesting. So they find out the group that I was in, Iron Frill, is also going to be at the Saga Rock Festival, which we'll come back later. So then at the next morning meeting, the manager, is he doing some sort of Rakugo style performance? Because that's what it looked like to me.
Yeah, it was something like Rakugo or like old, like, he's doing the like, yo thing. Like, I don't know. He's being real weird.
He's being
very
himself.
dramatic.
I don't know if that's
Yes,
I don't know
he's
where
being
it's some
himself.
Japanese performance style that is coming from. I wish I knew better. But yeah.
But yeah, so the manager says it turns out that the Fran Choo Choo group has fans now. And because of this, mostly because of the Tory ad, and he's like, now that you have fans, I'm going to make you interact with fans. And as usual, right away. So they're going to have this photo op. And they end up having to explain to Junko what digital cameras are, which is a sad moment. And the manager comments that he had an even bigger project planned after this, so they better make this fan event good, which makes me concerned. So they have this little fan event. There's one point where Tai is like chicken screeching into the crowd, which is pretty hilarious.
They like screech back at her. It's so good.
It's so good.
It was crazy.
They're like, she's like
so they do
she's
the
really
event.
like the girl from the commercial. Oh my god.
Yeah. They do the event. They take pictures with their fans. Like, they all have these lines of people who want to take pictures with specifically them. But Junko seems to be having a lot of trouble with this, and she seems really stressed and eventually runs off by herself.
Why? I
And
don't know what her deal is.
Oh, it makes perfect sense.
Well, they just explained that, like, in her time, they didn't interact with fans.
Yeah, like, in her time, the whole point of being an idol was that you were, like, above everyone else and, like, you were untouchable and unreachable. Whereas, like, in modern idol fandom, like, the whole point is to, like, make them feel like they're the girl next door and, like, you could possibly date them.
I don't get why that doesn't mean she can't do a meet and greet.
Because obviously, like, she probably has some other, like, issues, like she's very shy or like, but she also just feels like this is the wrong way to go about being an idol at the same time. Like, I don't think she would have become an idol.
Like this is,
well, she wouldn't have become an idol if she had known it would be like this.
It's a different kind of,
because that's not what it was
like.
She's
like an old lady, like, who disapproves of the modern way of doing things. That's basically what's happening here.
Yeah.
Because if she was like her actual age, she would be old, like really old.
Yeah, I think she just needs to get over it, from my opinion. From my point of view.
I don't know, but so basically she thinks like the idea of fans like interacting with them so closely
it
seems like really rude
that, like,
and
her trauma with whatever's going on just pales in comparison to what Ai's trauma is to me. Like, hers makes perfect sense to me, but Junko's, I'm like, dude, just fucking get over it. Go backstage, take a shot of whiskey or something.
Okay,
I don't know.
She died. She woke up. It's a completely different time. She didn't have time to adjust to the way things are now. Things just are different now. It's like an old person who didn't get to experience the time in between. So she's had no adjustment period. The culture has just changed abruptly around her, and she's supposed to adapt to it, and it disagrees with the way she sees the world and what she sees as the way they should be doing
adapt
things.
easily, so I don't know. Just her plight is just like, it's just like a pointless to me.
We'll get into it later, but I don't see Ai's trauma as being much more than like a meme.
A meme?
It's so ridiculous.
Yeah,
like, I can't take it
pretty
seriously. But yeah.
But okay, so like basically Junko explains later that like she sees an idol as like a role model who should not be dependent on the goodwill of her fans. She shines as herself, like as a beacon by herself.
Right.
And of course that's completely contradictory to the way we see
move
idols
on.
and bands now. No, fucking shut up. I'm going to explain it because we have this time, okay?
You'd
Fuck
make
off.
a great teacher because you're doing a good job of making me just
you know what, Leo? Just shut
She's
your
doing a
fucking
good job
mouth.
of schooling you.
We're gonna explain this plot point. All right, you just lay back and think of England.
If
while we
anybody
talk
can
about
make
this.
me
How about that?
instantly daydream, it's Kat right now.
I'm gonna like, come over there. I live in the same state as you. I'm gonna stab you in the eyes, and then we'll see if you can daydream. If you're gonna be like the guy from Golden Kamuy.
That's some real trauma.
There you go. Okay, so anyway, but yeah, she basically says like she got when she was working hard to become an idol, she's had these role models, and so she wanted to be a role model just like them. And she doesn't see the way that idols are now as role models because it makes it so that all of the fans can see their flaws, basically. And she doesn't like that. But yeah, so Junko isn't taking pictures with her fans and and apparently Junko has the longest line, probably because she's hot. And so the fan event kind of ends awkwardly because they see this, fight between them and Junko not wanting to take pictures. And of course that's not good. But yeah, so, and then later on, they have a meeting about it, and the manager yells at them all, and Ai yells at Junko and says, what you did affected everyone, not just you, and, it's hard, and it's a moment for everyone, it's drama. So, they all go off to their separate corners. They go out in the rain, and, okay, so Sakura goes off to talk to Junko. She goes to grab Junko's hat at one point and then falls into the ocean, and all her makeup just instantly falls off, which I call bullshit on. No one's makeup just washes off instantly. That's bullshit.
Well, it happened
might
last
be a little
episode
smear.
too, right?
Yeah,
when they washed off in the fountain.
Yeah.
Well, but that was more in depth,
Yeah,
right? They got covered in mud. I could see that, but this was a second of water. No. But anyway,
if anything, it at least would have probably messed it up to the point where anybody would have been what the fuck is with this person?
No, just so. I mean, it might have smeared it a little, but not very much. I know me some makeup, Leo. But anyway. But they talk. I don't know. They talk a little bit for Junko again about how she likes this boundary between her and her fans, and then we learn that Junko died in a plane crash while headed over to Saga, over Saga.
Yeah.
And I'm oh, is this how they got her body? Because she died near Saga.
This is what I'm starting to think at the end of this episode. Yeah, especially with what happened to Ai. Also, yeah.
Yeah, and then Ai and Saki go off together, and you find out that Ai is afraid of the lightning because she died of a lightning strike on fucking stage.
That's pretty
which is
brutal.
such a bullshit thing. It would never happen in real life ever.
Saki's that's kind of legendary though.
Yeah, but she's apparently she's seen all these articles about herself when she was looking online and about how Iron Frill has moved on from her, and she's this legend, and she helped catapult Iron Frill to being even more popular because this happened. And she's pissed because she doesn't want to be a legend. She wants to be who she really is. She's I'm still here, bitches. Mm-hmm. And then at the very end of this episode, the manager kind of announces Fran Choo Choo is going to be in the Saga Rock Festival. And of course, this will be a drama fest for Ai because Iron Frill will be there. So her old band will be there, and it's going to be outdoors. $10 says there's going to be a storm on that day, and she's going to have to overcome her fear to play in the storm.
Yep.
Oh, and I also bet she's going to get hit by lightning again.
You really think so?
Again.
Wait, what if Tai gets hit by lightning and then she wakes up? That'd be great.
I don't know.
It's Frankenstein's monster.
I think if something kills you and you come back to life, you probably more than likely it would be definitely believable that you will have a trauma about whatever the thing that was that killed you.
Probably, yeah, that's true.
That's very believable. And
actually, no, you know what? I disagree because you wouldn't have had any time to develop that trauma because you'd just be dead. So what is there to get think about? You would just have been dead. Yeah, but she's awake. But why would she be traumatized? She all she remembers is dying. And that happens in an instant. So,
well, not necessarily. What if she remembers the lightning hitting her and the burning sensation or something like that, and then just winking out?
I guess maybe, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's believable enough, I suppose. Yeah,
in that setting, that makes more sense to me. I feel like Junko's dragging her feet.
I feel like Junko, everything with her makes a lot more sense.
And you guys also know I don't like whiny characters,
selfish.
and she's whiny as
but
fuck
people
right now.
whine
You know
for
what?
good
You know
reasons
who is
sometimes.
whiny? You know who's whiny? I, because all I wants is to use the rest of them to be more famous and to get back to where she was before. At least Junko is like more idealistic in her way of seeing what she wants to do with her dream of being an idol.
I used to be against the idol group, and then she got over that in one episode, and I stated I was so happy they got past that.
Mm-hmm.
So like she's committed now, but now she's got this fucking lightning thing that's gonna fuck with her. So.
Yeah.
I don't hate I think she's an interesting character. I just think she's being a little selfish right now.
Yeah. My favorite part of this episode is when the manager ran out of shampoo, and then Ty started to try and give him like replacements, like laundry detergent and then soy sauce.
Soy sauce.
I was like, Ty, you're trying so hard.
No. I would have loved it if the manager was yelling at them, and then one of them was like, "It smells like soy sauce."
Yes. Perfect.
That would have been amazing.
Overall, though, like besides like the stuff with like Junko and I at the end, like I thought this episode was kind of boring. So I hope we get back to cooler stuff next week. But
the episode before this was pretty damn hype. So
yeah, and this was a setup episode, so I see what they're doing, but I have to see if that setup pays off. So, but let's move on. Finally, I have another review.
Yeah.
Karakuri Circus.
The epic review.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Episode 6 of 36 called Hell. So, yeah, this episode opens up with Narumi on a hospital bed, alive. And he's got this dude next to him who looks a hell of a lot like Shirogane, saying that he's...
Yeah, they're brother and sister. They have to be.
Or at least related somehow, yes.
Or all French people have silver hair.
That also
that creepy
truth.
witch who like tortured her is there.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah. He this guy is giving Narumi this thing called aqua vitae, which is this special alchemical medicine that is basically like healing his wounds, and we'll see later has even more powers than that. So
I want to know how they extracted him from that burnt down shrine.
Well, I'm sure we'll get to that. I'm sure they'll explain it.
Okay, but you know what I want to know is like how this dude extracted him from the burnt out shrine and then was like, oh, you know what we should do now? We should illegally fly him to the US cross internationally, and then we should like not help Masaru, this child who's also in the rubble. We should leave him behind with the wreckage of his arm.
Oh, and
fuck that
put
kid. We should just leave with Narumi
and put the most advanced prosthetic on for his arm.
Yeah.
Well,
that's what I want to know, y'all.
They're very invested in Narumi. They don't give a shit about Masaru. Yeah.
I was like, they brought him to the US? That's a little extreme and strange.
I'm just imagining like this Shiragane's brother like paying off a bunch of like border guards at some private airport while he like carries Narumi out of the plane. Like, you didn't see anything.
So
that's all I can think.
Yeah. Narumi woke up from like a coma basically about a month prior and has amnesia. So
yeah, the trope.
He can't remember Shirogane or Masaru, though he saw his faces in his dreams while he was in a coma constantly.
Yeah, but he doesn't know why he knows them.
Yeah, nah. And he also can't really remember who he himself is, but that changes kind of quickly. So they're holding him at this hospital in Illinois, like we said. The old woman who trained Shirogane as a girl, like the Shirogane in the show, they talk about Shirogane as like a group of people, but it's also the name of our main character as well, or one of the main characters. I love
how a guy introduces her. It's so good.
Oh, yeah. Wait, what does he say about her, the old woman?
He's something like, oh, and this old lady back here looks like a vampire
or
a witch, yeah. She's like, that was unnecessary.
Is her name, yeah. And so the man who looks a lot like Shirogane is Guy Christoph Resch. And so before Guy can explain too much, this little kid runs into their hospital room and gets scared by Narumi, who's like really big and scary looking. But Narumi like runs after him because it's like, oh no, this poor kid, and runs into this group of children in blue hospital clothes. And like when he sees them all like scared of him, his body just like instinctively starts doing like martial arts forms. And he's like, I don't know why I'm doing this, but then he realizes like, oh, I guess I did martial arts in China or something. I remember. So this little blonde boy, Mark, who first saw Narumi, starts coming down with a Zonofa attack, though, which again then reminds Narumi like, oh, I had that disease too.
This prompted me to look this up. This is totally made up for this anime.
Oh yeah, I've never heard of Zonofa. That's totally fake. Yeah.
Well, no, the fact that it like you need someone else to laugh for you didn't make you obvious that it was fake, Leo.
Yeah, I mean it's dumb as shit. But like they did it, and then there's like at one point there's like some ridiculous number of how many people have this. I'm like, is this a real thing? And I was not expecting it to be real, but I was expecting it to be kind of played off something sort of similar,
like based on something real. Okay,
it's nothing. This is just 100% from the creator's mind.
Yeah,
yeah.
So it turns out this hospital in Illinois is actually like a facility dedicated.
Illinois.
Yeah.
Illinois.
Yeah. Wait, did I say that wrong? Leo. How do you guys say it?
No, it's just funny.
No,
it's
just
in
the
Illinois.
idea that like it's Illinois.
yeah. No,
I was
it's
like,
just
what?
Illinois.
Am I pronouncing Illinois wrong?
All places. Illinois. What?
Yeah. So it's the Center for Research on Zonfa, and like there's like 2,000 children there who all have it, and they're trying to treat them. And the doctors seem really irritated with Guy and Lucille for not doing enough to stop the spread of the disease. Which they apparently have something to do with, and which we'll find out later. Guy tells Narumi, like, the reason he took him back and the reason he was in Japan even in the first place was because he was scouting him for something. And so, after playing with the kids a bit, like, Narumi stumbles across this nurse named Helen, who is in a storage closet with tears streaming down her face, right?
Hello, nurse.
Just eating fucking, like, pills, like, just like she's like she just shoving them in her mouth like insane. And I love Narumi's fucking reaction. Are those vitamins or something? No, bitch.
Narumi,
they're
you
not
sweet
vitamins.
boy.
Even if they were vitamins, you don't do it. That's bad. That's not good. That's not very unhealthy.
No, I would still be concerned if I saw someone shoving vitamins into their mouth and crying.
Yeah, she's just like clearly desperate.
Then the other doctors come in and they're like shooting up heroin or something.
Yeah, like they shove like syringes into their arms. Yeah, and it's like, what the hell is going on?
He finally gets it. He's like, oh, okay, they're drug addicts.
Yes. And so Narumi goes to complain to the head doctor of the facility, Dr. Banhart, and he's like, the doctor, like, when he hears about this, it says, like, well, it's kind of a necessary evil for the doctors and nurses here to continue doing their jobs. And we see Guy is interrogating one of the children named Tom and trying to get information about this thing called the Midnight Circus and the location of any automata out there. And Narumi's like not okay with how Guy is treating this kid and like punches through the glass to break into the interrogation room and punches Guy in the face. And he looks at his hand and he sees like there's glass in his hand. But then he has like Wolverine like level regeneration that pushes the glass out of his fist and heals itself. And he's like, oh shit, that Aqua Vitae was some real medicine. That did something to me I didn't really expect. So Nurse Helen then comes and talks to him, the one who was crying and shoving pills in her face, and explains that the only way to ease Zonfa attacks is to smile for the children, right? But they have no cure or treatment for these children. And clearly things have not been going well for these children. So the only way they can make themselves smile anymore is to just get high on drugs and like...
Okay, I
this totally pissed me off.
Get where they're going, but it's still not okay. Still not okay.
There are a lot of nurses and doctors who work on terminal child cancer wards. Yeah. You don't see them getting high. Like, that's bullshit.
I kind of agree. Yeah, that's a little far. It's a little tough. Exaggerated for sure. A lot exaggerated.
Yeah.
It is really tough to deal with that. Like, I feel for those workers who work in child hospitals because that is very difficult. But yeah, you wouldn't see them robbing from the supply closet and like getting high on like fucking heroin or opiates or something. Like, yeah, no.
Actually, I have a friend. You've actually played video games with her, Bcom.
Oh, I think
Triad.
Yeah.
So she became a nurse or whatever she is now, but she had to work in the emergency room for a while for children. It's what she specifically works with is children.
Yeah.
What do you think the number one cause of children coming into the UK for the ER were? Take a guess.
I know what this is because you've told me before, but Kat can guess.
You've told us before, yeah.
Oh, did I
but
tell you?
Audience, guess. Audience, guess what it is. We're going to give you a 5 seconds. Okay, Leo. Fucking tell them what it is.
Okay, it's for hot water burns from them making tea.
Yeah.
That's what it's from. All the time.
That's pretty
All
hilarious.
the children are burnt. Every child from the UK has been burnt by hot water.
Tea time is a very dangerous time, apparently.
Tea time could be
trying to
deadly.
think if I knew anybody who had worked with children with traumas or something, and that's all I had.
Yeah. So
okay, back to the
yeah. So meanwhile, Guy tells Narumi the truth about this hospital is that it's hell.
Why do you keep calling him Guy? I thought it was Guy.
His name is Guy. They pronounce it Guy. Guy is a French name that is pronounced Guy, even though it's spelled exactly like Guy in the English language.
Do you realize that every time you say ghee, I think of like the butter ghee?
Yeah.
And then I just imagine a giant tin of like butter.
Well, that's good for you. I mean, that sounds delicious.
Butter?
Well, ghee.
It's clarified butter. It's called ghee.
Yeah. Ghee. Yeah.
Ghee.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
Yeah, they're not going to have it in Indiana.
No, they do. Because
really?
I bought it here.
I'm surprised.
Yeah. It's great for cooking with. But anyway, go on.
So, yeah, meanwhile, outside of this facility, a bunch of, one main dude named Paulmon, who is carrying a little puppet named Anselmus, is surrounded by a bunch of dudes in white, and they're planning to attack the facility and kill Guy on behalf of this Lady Francine. Have we heard of Lady Francine in the show before? Or is that like the first time she got name dropped?
New to me.
New to me as well, I think.
Yeah. They drop a lot of stuff, like the Midnight Circus and the Automata. Like this was a huge info dump. They mention a lot of things.
Yeah, I'm really curious about the Midnight Circus, but I'm going to save that for the end.
The end, yeah. So Dr. Banhart explains that there are 3 stages to Zonfa syndrome. First, the children are in like constant pain. They can barely breathe. That's the first stage.
Should we warn our listeners this is going to get dark as fuck? But they've probably seen the episode.
You already know it's going to get dark as fuck.
Yeah, this is very dark, this next part, for like the next minute or so. We'll be talking about some dark shit.
You can handle it, you pussies. Come on.
Obviously,
you're watching Goblin Slayer.
Pussies.
You can
I was going to say, obviously they can listen to it. They handle Cat, so.
And also, the most, like Kat was saying, the most popular show of the season is Goblin Slayer. So I think people are here for this. So, then the step 2 of Zonfa syndrome is even worse. It's like immune deficiencies, and that's the step that typically just kills most of the children once they get that far. But then he says the true horror is the 3rd step, which he shows him. They go down to like a basement level underneath the facility and open up this room, and on the floor are just like little mats and just lines and lines of children like writhing around on the ground in terrible pain. And what it is, the 3rd step is like they become basically immortal. They can't die, but they're still in a constant state of pain and agony forever. So that's
but
awful.
they're also like almost comatose though. They can't move.
They can't move. Yeah, exactly.
And this is also where
it says,
you had the brain fart. Me and Kat are like, they look like puppets.
Their symptoms at this point. Well, okay, their symptoms at this point are that their temperature goes down in their body to room temperature, and then their muscles go rigid. But it's like they're zombies or
puppets.
And then I was like, puppets.
Yep.
Yeah. So basically their body has died, but they don't leave their body.
Exactly.
Is what's going on.
So Guy explains like the aquavitae he used to heal Narumi is the only thing that he knows of that can heal Zonafa, but they used literally the last of it on Narumi, and they can't recreate it because it was made by this ancient alchemist. And so they saved Narumi because they want his help in defeating the automata, because it's they who are spreading this Sanfa syndrome, commanded by this group called the Midnight Circus.
Yeah, you say they used all of it, but they pretty much used, I'm sorry, the last of it, but they pretty much used all they had.
Yeah, everything they had, basically, on hand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and my question was, how did Narumi survive to be an adult with Zonafa syndrome?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Like, since all of these other kids died, like, so quickly. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me that he survived all of his time before with Zonafa syndrome, when apparently all these other fucking kids didn't survive. Like, I don't know. It's weird.
Isn't his father like a clown, so he was always around...
Oh, that might have been the reasoning, actually. Yeah. He always had his father there.
But then couldn't they have just brought in a bunch of clowns and, like, not told them that the kids are dying and then just, like, continue to do that? Wouldn't that have worked?
You would think, you would think they would be doing something like that rather than just cooping them up in a facility with doctors who, like, plunge syringes into their freaking arms.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Apparently, I can run this facility better than these bitches are running it.
There's some loopholes. We've also discussed like the physics in this show is just like,
yeah.
I'm suspending my sense of like reality a little too much at times.
Also, I think that this group, even though they are fighting the automata, like, I don't think I trust them. Like, there's something shady with this group.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Was it the drug use? Go on. Is that what gave it away?
No, because that's just the doctors. Like, I'm just saying, the way they interrogated the kids, and they're like, "Don't you want to be useful before you die?" And I just don't think there's something going on here. Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
So Paulman and his automata, who were the dudes dressed in white, they're actually automata, show up outside and they start attacking the hospital like workers. And so Guy comes out and he has a puppet named Olympia who he fights with. And meanwhile, Narumi is inside. He's holding one of the little girls from the hospital named Beth in his arms. And she starts having a Zonfa attack and asks him if he can make this funny gorilla face he made early in the episode to make them laugh. And when he does, like, she dies in his arms and drops her teddy bear on the floor. And I was very sad, because I was sad. And so is obviously Narumi. And so Lucille Verneuil, like, goes up to Narumi with an eye mask and says, like, an alchemist who had been through really bitter times used to wear this long ago. And like she tells him, like, I believe that if you think that reality is too harsh to face, it helps to hide part of yourself away. And she gives him this little eye mask, though he doesn't wear it right away. He just goes outside and he starts just mauling automata. And also, I guess Guy kind of quickly explains that, like, the spiritual energy that he uses with his martial arts, like, oscillates with, like, the frequency of the automata and just, like, rips them apart when he kills them.
Yeah, something with, like, the liquid in them or whatever there is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, this automata that he's facing now seems quite a bit different than the other automata he'd faced before, because they act like they have their own, like, conscience and, like, have their own, like, dialogues and stuff like that, like they're almost more human, or like they were human, maybe.
Could be. Yeah
So that I thought that was interesting to me, at least.
Yeah, I guess I didn't explain the Midnight Circus that well. So it's like this group of people who are just going around spreading Zonfa everywhere that put up like this huge like circus like tent, and like I guess all of the kids who have Zonfa have like seen that circus probably at some point or come in contact with it.
Yeah, my big question is, why are they doing this?
Well, if it is to create puppets, then
we're correct. Yeah. And the best explanation would be to turn the children into puppets for them.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I think is happening.
Interesting. It'll be interesting to see how this like ties in with Masaru and his family and everything that was going on as well. Obviously, his father wanted him to like take down all the automata, so maybe he knew this was happening as well. But yeah. And yeah, so that brings us to the end of our shows today, but we have Midseason Cuts.
No.
So now's the time to decide whether we want to drop and or replace any of the 8 shows we're following this season.
Well, we're definitely dropping Run with the Wind, right?
Sure.
No, we're fucking not dropping it.
Damn it.
Bitches.
I would say the ones that I was thinking about dropping coming into this episode were either Doug and Kirill or Girl in Twilight. Girl in Twilight's been okay. It's been not great though, but it's been fine. Like, so
I'm still it still intrigues me.
Like, it still interests me from week to week. I'm still happy with it.
Yeah. You know. It's not our best pick, but like, I don't hate it.
However, Doug and Kirill pissed me off.
And that's your lock, so that's all in your power.
Exactly.
If you piss Bcom off, run.
Exactly. And I have like 4 shows that are like battering down the door. Like, there's Gridman, there's Bloom Into You, you know, all this stuff. There's Irizuku, there's Sarune, like all sorts of things. There was even the Slime anime, which I kind of am enjoying, though I don't think I'm going to pick that up. But
the Slime anime.
I mean, you could even pick up Goblin Slayer, I guess.
Oh no, that's not happening.
The Slime anime is like one of those where like you gotta burn through those first 2 episodes, and then like I really liked everything afterwards.
Yeah, the first 2 episodes are a little slow, and then it has more fun after that for sure.
Y'all keep saying that. I guess I should give it a shot.
But basically, it came down to Gridman and Bloom Into You.
Make the right choice. I was
having trouble deciding.
I hope you'll make the right choice.
So I talked about it with my co-host before the podcast, and they are of completely opposite opinions about which show should get added.
What would you know?
Wow, not surprising.
And so I was thinking about what to add. So on my personal own thoughts, I actually like Gridman more as a show. But I also think that Bloom Into You could prompt more interesting discussions for the podcast. So that was like in my mind. And then since Leo was such a dick this episode, I'm just going to pick up Bloom Into You.
Yes!
You just want me to be a fucking dick even more now. That's all you're getting out of me.
Fucking Leo, you gotta suck it up and watch this lesbian anime with us.
I am going to put effort into shitting on Bloom Into You, which is going to be good because after the first 2 episodes, I don't know if I like it or not.
So I have seen, I've seen episode 7 already. I won't say much about the episode, but I really liked that episode. So I know at least we'll be starting with a good episode. And a little recap of what's happened, obviously.
But then you told me, oh no, you'll hate it. It's pure drama. And I'm like, oh, well, of course I will fucking hate it. God damn it.
It's true. If you don't like drama.
There may be a lot of comments about mold in the classroom and all that.
Yeah, I'm just
We'll
they're
see.
all in the hospital. They're all hallucinating this entire thing, and that's going to be my general take on it.
That would be interesting. So everybody else, do you feel comfortable? Like, I'm pretty comfortable with all the other shows we're still covering.
I'm not.
Well, I know that. We all know that. Anything besides Run with the Wind that you don't feel comfortable with?
Nah, Rascal a little bit.
I like Rascal though. It's just fun. Like, I did not expect to like Rascal as much as I am, and it's good.
I like what it's doing is interesting, but I'm not. That's a weird thing to say that like I think what it's doing is interesting, but when I'm watching it, I don't get engaged at all. I think maybe it's just a little too slow paced for me.
Okay.
It could be.
So
Because I actually get really engaged when I'm watching it. I get irritated with the harem aspects of it, as I've discussed. But as a whole, I like it as a show.
But like replacing it with either Slime or Goblin Slayer or Gridman, I would be completely on board with. But you guys aren't really feeling it, so.
I mean, I love Gridman.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
I like Rascal.
I mean, yeah, but it's my pick, and I hate Gridman.
Yeah, exactly. We're at an impasse. So yeah, I think Bloom will be a good addition. It'll be a lot of fun stuff to talk about. And Doug and Kirill, I'll probably keep watching it. I'll let y'all know down the line if this was just like a stupid episode and it gets better, but I doubt it.
Yeah, I'll keep watching it too.
Yeah. Do you think we could make the outro just in memoriam for Double Decker, the outro of Double Decker, since it is like an amazing song?
Yeah, I could do that.
Hey man.
I will miss it. All right, Kat, take us away.
Yeah, it is a good song. All right. Thanks for listening. Remember to like, follow, and subscribe to us on YouTube to get updates on new podcasts or videos. You can also find our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, and Stitcher, and follow us on Twitter at Nerdom and Other for updates as well. Oh, and our Discord. You should check us out on Discord. Nerdom and Other Nonsense. Okay, with that, we'll see you next time.
Later,
Bye.
everybody.
Peace.